Welcome once again to the University of Badassery. This is CJ Ortiz, and I am the Metal Motivator.
Hell yeah.
Seated next to me, the Dark Throne, here in the flames with me is the epitome of toxic masculinity, the destroyer of all things douche baggery, heavy metal, McNamara, Pat Mac.
All right. Dude, those intros get better and better. I like that nice dark kind of tone you started out with there.
We got to keep it metal.
Yes.
It's funny because we have these audiences which are a mixed bag of people who no musical taste whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And then you get people who go in and go, man, what are you guys wearing on your wrists? And what's up with the skulls? And
right. Yep.
Or one dude wrote in and goes, he wrote it on one of the posts. He said, cut your fuggin' hair. Fuggin.
Yeah.
I just said, well, go fug yourself.
Ah, nice.
But I don't see why people don't understand that heavy metal is about attitude.
Yeah, you know what? One of our questions, I talk about that today. I will talk about that. During this podcast, I will talk about that. But it's all about attitude.
It's all about attitude, and
it's positive attitude too. You know,
that's the thing.
It's not pissing and moaning and wallowing in self-pity and shit like that. It's positive.
Brokenhearted because your girlfriend left you and your truck broke and
nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about stupid stuff. Let's talk about other genres of music. Somebody had tagged me in a post the other day from a speaking gig that I did, and it was one of these articles that people always share that says how, heavy metal is good for you and kids from the 80s turned out okay. All the metalheads are all healthy and the music's healthy for
right.
you, because you can fuel all that angst and process all that stuff. And I'm like, I just answered. I said, yep, but people are still listening to pop music.
Right.
Right. So there's a disconnect with people. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is that how much do we love metal to the degree that it's oozing out the pores?
To the degree that I need to make a public service announcement right now.
Go for it.
Vote.rockhall.com. So guess who's in the top five for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for 2020? Judas Priest. Where are they? They're at number 5 right now out of like 20 bands. Who is ahead of them? You ain't going to believe this. You're going to shit yourself. The Doobie Brothers. Hold on. It gets worse. Dave Matthews Band. And hold on. Pat Benatar.
Oh my God.
What was she, around for like a year? She's ahead, by like tens of thousands of votes. Guess who Judas Priest is right in front of? By only a couple thousand. No, you're going to call me a liar on this one. Whitney Houston.
Get the hell out of
here. Yeah, so vote.rockhall.com. You could vote as many times as you want. You can't vote multiple times in a day. But like I've already voted for him twice.
Yeah. Dude. How long has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? They do everything they can to have as much bad press as they possibly can.
Yeah, right.
They drop the ball
all the time.
So many. But I'll say this. I know more Pat Benatar songs than I know Doobie Brothers songs.
Right. Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, it takes us back to, what was it, the Grammys where Metallica got booted for
Jethro Tull. Best metal band. Damn.
God, see, that's the thing, dude, is and metalheads understand that. Metalheads understand that it will always be misunderstood.
Yeah.
It's always going to be marginalized, because how do you explain something as big as heavy metal? I posted a video the other day. It's one of Metallica's video. They were playing in Moscow, I think it was again. It was massive again in this. Massive. And so I just wrote, man, how big is heavy metal? This big.
Right.
I said, and again, the name of the band is Metallica.
Yeah.
A thrash band. Mm-hmm. The biggest heavy band of all time.
No, the biggest musical act.
Yeah, the biggest musical act of all time.
Really?
Yep.
That's no hyperbole there.
No,
bro.
They got they acknowledged it, earlier this year, that based on the numbers, the biggest touring band of all time.
It was a metal band, metal thrash band.
Yeah, metal thrash band. Mm-hmm. That's how big heavy metal is. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't how do you get to be that big and never have the support of the mainstream music industry, radio, TV. I mean, especially in the 80s.
Right.
And they were packing out stadiums back then, Maiden, Priest, and Metallica, and they didn't get crap from the radio stations. No, they were still playing all the bubblegum stuff. So that's why. So nothing goes global and has global domination unless it's badass. You may not understand it, but that doesn't mean the problem's with the music. The problem is with you.
Damn tootin'.
So yeah, are we biased? God, yes, we are.
Just a little bit. A little bit.
All right, before we get into the meat of this podcast today, no guest because me and Mac made a instant
command
decision. I was over here for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And let me just say something, Mac. Again, thank you for having me over for
right on
Thanksgiving. You and Rebecca rocked that day, man.
Bro, number one, she's one of the best human beings I've ever met in my life. But we work well together. And even close quarters in the kitchen. So we split the duties right down the middle because we want it to be fun. We want it to be enjoyable. And that was a pretty eclectic group we had, between my oldest daughter and Rebecca's brother and her mom. And anyway, it was a mixed match of personalities there.
It was a beautiful day.
Yep.
Of course, Mac's got great property here. And so we spent a lot of the day, well, pretty much the whole day and night outside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So we had a fire pit. And so Mac just kept feeding fire.
Yep.
We started running out of firewood. Then Mac would be gone for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, where did he go? He's trying to get wood.
Yeah. I come back with Target stands that I'm not using. I'm like,
Comes back.
I probably need these this weekend, but fire is more important right now. That's priority number one.
Then when he came over with the neighbor's shutters, we're like, dude, maybe that's a little bit too much.
Neighbor shutters burned well.
But yeah, we just drank all day. The food was badass.
Yeah.
They sent me home with some leftovers, and I got 2 more meals out of that bunch. But man, it was totally freaking badass. But while we were there, me and Mac were sitting there drinking, standing amongst the fire, trying to get away from the smoke blowing in our face. We started talking about what we're going to do in the next podcast. Mac said, hey, man, we need to probably schedule one in December.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, dude, who do you want to get on there? We just kind of looked at each other. We just said, you know what? Let's just do it just us.
Just wing it.
So we're going to do it with just us, and we're going to do pretty much the whole thing today with Q&A. So, in fact, when I asked for the questions, and so for anybody, don't be offended if we don't get to your question. Don't be offended, because when I sent a list to Mac from the initial batch that I got, it was at 67 questions.
Yep.
So more came in after that, and I just said, well, we'll get to that later. So it'll be some will answer, some we won't. But
I think we'll need to check each other on some of these. Like, hey, all right, time limit, stop. Let's go on to the next one. Because there's a couple of these we could have an entire podcast discussion on a single question.
Right.
So, I mean, I like to consider myself the master of brevity. However, I may get on a soapbox with a couple, so we'll just check each other.
Well, I think that's kind of what makes the times when we have just you and I as good as they are, because, and I know the guys want to hear, and gals want to hear a lot more from you, and so they need some Mac diatribe,
right?
Some soapboxing, some Mac preaching,
some piss and vinegar.
Okay, let me mention our show sponsors. We are sponsored by Invader Coffee, invadercoffee.com. Now, notice I said Invader Coffee. I didn't say Black Rifle. I didn't say, what's the other ones? Death something coffee, and
there's a whole bunch of
everybody pretending to be badass and shit.
Yep.
Invader Coffee, drink to victory. Seriously, man, I drink the hell out of that coffee. We have the house blend here. Mac, which one is this?
Is that mine, or is that no? That one's mine. That's the T-Max Blaze Ops blend. So it's a double dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super smooth.
But you're supposed to do the thing. That's why I pointed it.
Oh, it's Blaze Ops blend, double dark.
Our other sponsor here, we delighted to have, is Taconic Distillery. Now, let me tell you, when I brought this stuff over for the first time, Max said, "No joke, bro, best bourbon I've ever had."
Yeah, and I'm no pro, but I'm no rookie either.
Right.
And I drink all the usual suspects. So stuff that guys know, like the Woodford and Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare and all the big B's and W bourbons, and I like quality. I don't like crap, and no doubt, I'm not. That's a legit statement. That's the best bourbon that I have ever. That's just me. That's my opinion.
Right.
That's one dude who likes good bourbon.
Right.
And I don't like crap, and that's the best one I've ever had.
Well, just between...
It's good bang for the buck, too, bro.
Well, Mac, just between you and me, even though this is being recorded...
Right.
When I came out here the last time when we did the podcast with episode 8 with Rick, I brought 3 bottles for Mac from the sponsor. And by the time I got here for Thanksgiving...
They were gone, bro.
They were gone. All 3 bottles were gone. So I brought him another 3 bottles today to restock.
Should last me about 3 days.
It should last them 3 days, yeah. But we could say the same thing also about Invader Coffee and the friendship that we have with Wes Whitlock and the family there, and Rogue American Apparel and Rogue American here in Fort Bragg.
Yep.
Brother Donnie Mack and
talk about a metalhead.
Oh, dude. awesome people. Wes too, man.
Yep.
At Invader. And Wes, I wish I could repeat, when he goes through, he was going through with me one time about, the process that he goes through with he posts video. You can go to Invader Coffee, at Invader Coffee, and check out some of the video. But dude, they take that brewing thing serious as hell.
Yeah.
And he'll talk about the chemicals and all that stuff.
You're talking the roasting process.
Yeah, the whole roasting process.
Yep.
And so, we can't say enough about Invader and Taconic Distillery. And so appreciate those guys. And of course, music by our good buddy Metal Mike to bracket the show front and back. So very, very appreciative. But here we go, man. It's always a pleasure to answer questions. We usually save these things for the end of the podcast, but Mac had an idea even months ago. He said, you know what, dude, we should probably just do an episode just with Q&A. So it's as good a time as any, man.
Hey, there was a bunch of guys who sent to me when I posted up on my story on IG. They sent them to me. I just deleted them because it was FFI, failure to follow instructions.
Right.
It said where to send your questions in on that story.
And this is, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to say this again. And I hope everybody takes note about it because I have spent my life teaching this to my kids. And I just even recently, I'd noted to one of them the principle because it was violated. And it's what we call representation versus substitution. And it's the thing about, again, when the substitute teacher comes in, they could never continue with the curriculum, right? Because they weren't a representative. They were a substitute. And so if you really want authority, if you really want to understand authority, then you understand that you're supposed to represent something, not substitute your own way. Right?
Yeah.
So if your commander tells you to do something, he's going to be pissed off if you say, well, I don't care what he said. I'm going to do it my way. That's when shit breaks down, right?
Yep.
So if you tell somebody, hey, man, send the DMs to at University of Badassery. Somebody says, I'm going to send it to Mac.
Yeah, right.
Failure to follow instructions.
Yep, FFI.
You're a substitute, not a representative. So what we want is representatives to the max. Mac and Max. Let me read something real quick. This guy wrote something and I said, hey, thanks a lot, man. And he said, no problem. He said, share it if you want. I said, dude, you know what? I am going to share it. It's just a simple, I get these comments all the time. He said, man, I don't know if this is Mac or Preacher, but I've said it before. You guys have the fucking best podcast out there. Hands down, the best.
Damn.
I wish you guys could do it more often, but look forward to it when it comes out. Christmas, year round. Keep rocking. Hope to share a beer with you guys one day. If y'all are ever at Southern Pines Brewery, tell Micah Niebauer that Grooms will buy you guys a beer. He's my old LT.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Mike is a good cat. They're all good cats. Southern Pine Brewing guys.
I don't think I've ever been there, right?
Yeah. No. We might have to go by after the podcast just to have one, and then we'll swing by the pub.
Yeah, we'll have our free beers.
That's right. Yeah. I'm not sure if Michael will be there or not, but those guys do well, bro.
Do they really?
Yeah, well, when they started out, there was a partnership of 3 dudes. They were SF guys.
Okay.
And they got out like at the halfway, 10-ish years, couple deployments, Afghanistan. And if I recollect correctly, they were all home brewers. And they were all on the same team, and they were chewing the fat about, we should, start our own brewery. So that's what they did. They sunk, heart and soul into it, and invested their freaking life into this thing.
Right.
And while they were building the brewery, while they were building it and brewing their first batch, so it's still industrial, nothing in there, it's just pipes and casks and that kind of crap. I went over and introduced myself, and they said, hey, we have an IPA that we're brewing, and you want to sample something? I was all ready to fake it. I was all prepared to fake it and go, this is good. Dude, man, their man of law, dude, it's like, I was so happy that I didn't have to fake it.
Right.
Because I'm not sure I fake it well. And I went, oh, thank you for this. Thank you. And their IPA is like a gateway drug for people who don't like IPAs. I'm pretty sure it's the one that pulled Rebecca over the hump.
Oh, really?
Yep. And got her stuck to IPAs. But it's ridiculous.
She wasn't a fan at first?
Nah. Mm-mm. No, but I think that was her gateway drug.
How does nobody comes out of the womb drinking hard liquor, coffee,
right,
beer,
yep,
etc. Do you remember when, for example, you started drinking coffee?
Oh man, I have the best story for that. Are you freaking kidding me? I just accessed the data bank for this. Yes, I remember my first cup of coffee ever. So my mom was a coffee drinker. My dad adamantly opposed it. To him, he'd rather have me smoke weed than drink coffee. I don't know why. I have no idea. But he was adamantly opposed to drinking coffee. So I joined the Army. He had a couple promises he wanted me. He says, hey, on your name tag or your dog tags, I want you to put Roman Catholic. And then he told me about this story about him having me secretly baptized when I was a year and a half old because my mom was Protestant.
Oh, okay.
So I said, all right, no problem. And he goes, and the other thing is, promise me you won't drink coffee. And I said, okay, done. So basic training, 13-week basic training, infantry stuff. So basic AIT. This guy, I'm the Distinguished Honor Graduate. I'm kidding. Yep. So I had to write a speech for graduation. And during the graduation breakfast, they sit me at a table with all these dudes with rank, man. I got no rank. I don't even have mosquito wings on, I'm an E-zip. I'm a 1. And I'm sitting next to the chaplain, and he's like a light colonel or something. And he goes, I noticed you're not drinking your coffee. And I said, oh, yeah, it's a thing. I promised my dad, that I wouldn't drink coffee and humma. And the breakfast isn't served yet. I stayed up all night writing a speech, and now I'm getting heavy-eyed. I'm starting to fall asleep. Mm-hmm. I'm going, holy crap. If I fall asleep at this table, my ass is grass. So everybody's looking at the stage because something's going on. Mm-hmm. I grab that cup of coffee and chug it.
Damn.
And it was cold by then.
Right.
That chaplain looks back at my cup and he does a double take. And he looks at me and I'm pretending like, it just evaporated. But that was my first cup of coffee ever right there.
Did it have an effect on you?
Did it keep me awake for breakfast? I think just being scared shitless about falling asleep. And I was thinking this could only assist me in staying awake because, you're smoked, man. You're freaking tired. And, yeah.
So when was it? So after that, when did you drink it again?
No idea. I can't remember my second cup.
But that was
my first cup.
Well, so, because let's say.
But how many people can remember their first cup of coffee and have a story like that?
Yeah, no way, man.
But it's so funny you asked that.
Yeah, nobody liked it really growing up, unless you lived in some South American country or in Europe where you're given it as a kid or whatever. Right. I don't remember when. I just know I was probably 20, 21, something like that when I started to drink it. Because before then, I was raging like a serious Jamaican. You know what I mean? Yep. So I'm hungover every day. I'm not drinking coffee at 11:30 in the morning when I'm getting up from partying all night. So, I think it was when I started to become an adult and take life seriously and go to work and have a wife and a kid to take care of that I said, all right, well, I need some help from the gods here, man. So started drinking coffee. And to me now can you imagine your life without it?
Yeah, my kids sometime, we'll have Q&A. I remember one of the questions they asked, what's your favorite drink? Now, you got water, you got coffee, you got beer. Which one am I picking? Which one can't I live without? Well, I mean, you can't live without water, but man, that's a toss-up. That's a hard
That's a toss-up. I'd have to say I'd have to keep the coffee.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to get rid of the beer.
There's something about that.
Granted, now don't freak out there. You got one or two choices. You know?
Right. Yeah. Like pick your favorite album to go on the desert island for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So, but it again, it's a I love the ritual of the morning to me.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something I'm an extrovert too, so I love people. I get energy from people. It's great. It's wonderful. But still, the introvert part of me likes that morning routine when it's silent.
Bro,
nothing's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you got that coffee because it's the taste, it's the heat of it. It's
the process too. You
know,
like if you're doing a French press, the process is, I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you say? I mean, that's that's part of the liturgy of life. It's interesting that your dad said put Catholic on your So it's on your dog tag?
Yeah. I still got them somewhere. I have no idea where they are, but
so what is that? I mean, they give you different blood or something if they?
No, I think it's
for the chaplain.
Yeah, like reading last rites type of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was that chaplain Catholic?
Probably.
The Pope Catholic?
Yeah.
You know any Catholic jokes, Mac?
Probably.
I think there was one. Did you hear about the old Italian woman who got super upset when she found out Jesus was Jewish? And I said, well, why would she get so upset?
Yeah.
She said, it's just terrible because his mother's such a good Catholic. That's the only Catholic joke I know, bro. All right. So let's get into these Q&A.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So now there was a couple questions I had from I don't know when I took these down, but I forgot all about them, so I didn't include them in a list. So you want to try to answer these two off the cuff?
Yeah, sure. I can't even see what they are.
This one is, do you play any brain games to keep yourself sharp?
Oh, man, that's good. Yep.
Trivia, dude.
Yeah.
He does trivia.
No, really. I host trivia once a week and talk about brain games. I mean, you learn a wealth of useless knowledge, when you play it, but when you host it, because you got to research all those, I dig up all the questions, and then you got to fact check them.
Right.
Because if you just go off of a trivia book, a lot of times they're wrong or out of date.
Right.
If they're a year old, they're wrong.
Right.
In a lot of cases, unless it's history. But even history, if it's modern,
you're stretching your brain for
man.
Kind of shit you are. But, I don't play any kind of puzzle stuff
I used to do that Lumosity online. That was good stuff, man. But the thing is, I noticed it was consuming time because it was fun. But your brain would hurt, an hour of Lumosity.
Right.
And you compete against yourself. But yeah, I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, for me, it's the heavy reading I do, in particular in philosophy, that keeps my mind active. I read a lot of nonfiction, but it's not the contemporary stuff that does it for me. It's really more the stuff the weightier reading where I have to constantly reread things and keep it in mind and hold in mind whether this is a deductive or inductive argument or what have you. Because philosophers do their best to try to be misunderstood. You know what I mean? They do not make it easy. This is not see Jane run. But I think anything like that is going to exercise one's brain. So it's a good thing to do. Don't let everything, don't let everything be passive when it comes to whatever you're engaged in. You can't always be in passive mode. Can't always be TV. Can't always be radio. Can't always be novels. Can't always be just hanging out. Can't always be just bullshit conversation.
Yeah.
You need to challenge your mind.
Well, you got to mix it up. And I've said this before on other podcasts. If you're doing the same thing over and over, you fall into that rut of complacent adaptation.
Yeah.
And even if it's just reading, sure, there's benefit to that. But the thing is, there's a wall too. Right. So yeah, you got to mix it up.
Yeah. And just for those who are like saying, hey, you know what? I've been challenged. I really want to start reading, but man, stuff is over my head. Always try to read stuff that's just a little bit over your head. It's like lifting heavier weight. You know what I mean? Your mind's a muscle, needs that kind of resistance. If you're challenged with reading weightier books, here's my suggestion. This is what you need to read a book. Don't read a nonfiction book. Now, I'm not talking about fiction. I don't care about novels. But nonfiction books, if it's a weighty book, this is the way you do it. You don't read it from start to finish like you're reading a novel. This is not a story you're following. This is an argument. This is a writer will do or write for two reasons: persuade or inform. Mm-hmm. One of the two.
Yeah.
Right. So find out what kind of book it is. Read the cover. Read the inside flaps. Read the back blurb. Right. Go scan the index. Read the epilogue, the ending, and then go through the table of contents, and then just go through the whole book, page by page, spending no more than 2 seconds on the page.
Huh.
Just go through it. Notice subheads, notice a line here or there. If you want to, stop, read a little paragraph, whatever, but just do that. Just do that through the whole book. So that by the time you did all of that, blurbs and indexes and table of contents and go through that, you probably spent 45 minutes to an hour with this book. But now when you start to read it, you're so much more familiar with what it is and where it's going. So then when you go to chapter 1, do the same thing again. For just chapter 1 pages, spending 5 seconds per page. Then read chapter 1.
Neato.
You'll get so much more out of books.
Wow. How to read a book 101.
There you go, man.
I love it.
Second question, how do you pull yourself out of a creative slump? I thought this question was interesting because only like everybody's talking about life slump. This guy said, how to pull yourself out of creative slump. Writing songs, he says, has become more difficult recently. Now, you're a creative dude, bro.
Oh, man. He's talking like a plateau. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much a slump, but it's a plateau. And there's ways to come off of a plateau. And just like we talked about, changing shit up.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like when I talk shooting, when you're stuck on a plateau, I say, do nothing but strong hand shooting at distance. One hand, strong hand shooting at distance, bullseye, like 25-yard bullseye work. It's boring. It's mundane. But we guys are very good at practicing what we're good at. And he's probably doing the same thing. Right. You know, this is what I'm good at, so this is what I'm going to keep doing. Right. So you hit a plateau and you're not going anywhere. So you got to go in a different direction. I'm not sure how. I would need to put thought into that one. Yeah. But I think my comparison is
I think anytime you like take a new direction home, see something new, just do something to break what you're describing as this rut that you get into. So the rut was okay because it yielded creativity before, but now it's not yielding anything.
Well, don't think of it as a rut either. Think of it as a plateau. You know, don't think, because now you're thinking negative. When you think rut, that's negative. It's just a plateau, bro. That's all it is.
Right. You've maxed the territory. So you've got to get some new territory. Sometimes it's good to take a little break from it, come back to it. Oftentimes, I think people get a misconception about creativity. For example, when the breakout novel for Stephen King was the story Carrie, right? Remember that? Mm-hmm. Well, at that time, when he wrote Carrie, he was writing it in the little laundry area of their trailer home and on a little rickety folding card table with a typewriter on top of it, barely making ends meet as a high school English teacher. So, you know, people get this idea of, you know what, I got to escape to a beautiful spot in the mountainside overlooking, and then I'll be creative, and then I'll create my... No, every great piece of work was done in the middle of busy life and crowded desks and all that. You look at any giant of thought, you go see a picture of their office, it's a freaking mess. Yeah. Right? Because a clean desk means nothing's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? I will clean my desk on occasion, but I know it's going to start to accumulate again, and then I'll clean it again. But to close it out every day super clean, that means shit ain't going on. Because I guarantee you, I'm going to be writing or working on something I'm not going to finish by the end of the day. I'm going to be getting back to it the next day.
Right.
But I don't need necessarily, for me, inspiration is built in, and what I need is enough fodder inside of me. So I need to gain as much resource as I can. Then sometimes it's going when I go out to mow grass or take a walk or wash dishes, that all of a sudden, boom, 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 ideas start popping left and right.
What's his name? What's Cameron's first name? Wrote Avatar.
Is it John? No, John Cameron?
No. It doesn't matter. But my
David Cameron?
No, my other buddy CJ, I was staying with this past weekend while I was training, said that he wrote Avatar in his kitchen.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, you don't need necessarily all of that to be creative. Not that that's what this particular individual is talking about. But it sounds like if writing songs has become difficult, I don't know whether that's lyrically or melody wise or riff wise, but in terms of content, and sometimes what's good to do is to read outside of your discipline. So like I worked with a ministry for a while, and it's an academic organization, and I would write a lot of articles for it. And a lot of the people who are reading it are all PhD and master's degree people. So they would write in and ask me, dude, where did you do your graduate work? And I said, kitchen table seminary, bro.
Right on.
You know? And they're like, well, that's amazing. We just really, really love your articles. And when I stepped aside from that position that I was fulfilling with that organization, the president said, God, I hate the fact that you're stepping down, man. I just love your stuff. And I said, listen, I appreciate that, but be honest with you, the reason why you like my stuff is not because I'm telling you anything new. It's because I'm a marketing guy writing on the subject. That's why you like it. I'm not writing it like an egghead. I'm writing it like a dude who knows how to write sales copy for a magazine. So I'm broaching your subjects that you're very, very familiar with in a way that you prefer to read it in. So I'm just articulating what's already in you. I'm like a subscription to a magazine. You don't subscribe to it because you learn something new in every issue of Guns and Ammo.
Right.
It's just because it reinforces your values. So that's all I'm doing. And I think that's something that we should do is read outside of your discipline, write outside of your discipline, because it might be something else you start reading about. You might read about, what Mac always talks about with Lewis and Clark and come up with a badass song that's completely out of the shit that you normally write, right? Because you're seeing something differently. So give yourself some new fodder to choose from. Question for both Pat and CJ for the Q&A. If the genre of metal didn't exist...
That's a real knee slapper.
I'm not even answering this. If the genre of metal didn't exist, which other genre of music would you listen to?
I'm gonna go to rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yeah.
I mean, all the like, you take tunes like "Sweet Child of Mine" by Deep Purple, with Ian Gillan, that range he has.
Wait, Sweet Child. Wait,
Sweet Child. It's not Sweet Child of Mine. It's Child in Time.
Child in Time. Yeah.
Yeah, Child in Time. Yeah, but tunes like that. No, just rock and roll.
Yeah, it'd be rock. It'd be rock. I would, we'd probably be hard rock if that's allowable, right? Yeah, we do that. Now, okay. Let's say nothing rock in metal was available.
I'd go to classical then.
Yeah, I'd probably go to classical. I like certain elements of jazz, but it'll wear me out after a while. So it'd probably be classical because it's kind of like metal.
Yep, it's very metal-esque.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of similarities.
All right, question number 2. I've got a question for you guys that Mac's post with Jeremiah Johnson made me think of. What do you both think are some of the biggest, quote, you really shouldn't have done that, unquote, moments from history? For example, the rival tribe murdering Jeremiah Johnson's wife, or the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor are a couple that I think of. So he's asking about like world history or our history.
I wrote down a couple different things. It could be our I have one world, but I have a couple our history as well.
Right, go ahead.
One didn't happen yet, but the impeaching of the president, I mean, that's going to be oops, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, that's not working.
Yep. But how about the freaking American Revolution, bro? We're taking your guns and you're going to be subservient to us.
Yeah, that was a bad move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad move.
And the other one I have was Chernobyl.
Oh, yeah.
The government cover-up. Dude. Right. Oof. Professor Rebecca helped me with that one.
Yeah, I could make the point. 'Cause I do kind of side sometimes with Patrick Henry, who said when the fathers were in Philadelphia penning the Constitution, he quipped, "I smell a rat in Philadelphia." Now, this is Patrick Henry, guys. Now, so you guys will talk out of one side of your mouth. You'll say, Constitution, Constitution. But when you say, give me liberty or give me death, you're talking about a guy who wasn't necessarily in support of that. Right? Because he knew there was Federalists involved. And Federalists, I've never met a government or bureaucracy I didn't want to grow. And so that's what you've seen ever since then. I mean, thank God we still have the Constitution in some semblance trying to curb the growth of the state. I don't know how much a good job it's doing. Personal liberties is kind of the battle we're trying to wage right now. but the Constitution was written to curb or put limits upon the state, not upon you or I. So you have to argue, well, I mean, were the Articles of Confederation beforehand sufficient? You know, because and at that time, what was important was the constitutions of the respective states.
Yeah.
So we went from this great moment, you know, post Declaration of Independence, post Revolutionary War, where, okay, we've got our colonies. We're now going to start to build this nation, but it was still very localized, very state oriented, and did not become the behemoth now that we know as American statism. I just posted this the other day. It was the song "Rockin' America" by Night Ranger.
Yep.
You can still rock in America, man. You should just talk about stuff. Born in the USA. You used to be able to sing about stuff like that and not cause a big brouhaha. But to me, the whole point of the post was that I said, it used to be back in the day, we were singing about running from the cops, rebelling against the man, chicks and beer and party all night. Whatever happened to that? When did everybody get so political all of a sudden? So when I see rockers, identifying more with their political party than they do their own physical family. And I said, you're now a political animal because you can't tell me what's going on in Washington is that important to you.
Right.
Because years later, you and I have lived through a lot of presidents, man.
Yep.
A lot of them. And we're still can eat pizza, drink beer, and
do burnouts.
Yeah, do burnouts. So, I mean, that's really what's important. And so to me, that spirit of rock and roll. So I asked the question, I said, I wonder if the modern rise of American statism, you know what I mean? Everybody becomes so politically driven, is coterminous or parallel with the decline in rock and roll.
Coterminous.
You like words, bro.
Yeah, I'm writing that one down.
Mac is about the words.
Yep.
He may assign a definition to it of his own making, but he shall use the word.
That's right.
Coterminous. Raping an alien.
Nice.
So all to say is, we can look at all kinds of things that ends up being big mistakes in history. You could say 9/11. You could say all sorts of stuff. ISIS. Doing what they do and bringing the heat on them. But anyway, number 3, in honor of Slayer retiring, top 5 Slayer songs. Now, some of our listeners are like, who is Slayer?
Yeah.
And who cares that they retired? Well, we have the big 4, commonly known as the big 4 of metal, of thrash bands, which is Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, and
Megadeth.
And in the day in which we live now, a lot of bands are feigning that they're retiring.
Right.
Like Motley Crue just pulled this.
Yep.
Said their farewell tour, which I went to go see in Dallas, and now they're back again with Poison, which means I am not going. Yeah. But Slayer seems like this was for real.
Yeah, they're doing it right though. They're not fizzling out. Right. They're going out with a bang.
Yep.
They're announcing it. They did their time. It's a career, and they're ready to retire.
My favorite shot, there's 2 favorite shots. One is, because they finished at the LA Forum, and there's that shot of it's just Tom Araya standing by himself on the side of the stage and just looking. Not smiling, not nothing, just stood there for minutes just looking. He was savoring that moment. And the other picture was from Phil Anselmo's page. Somebody took it from behind him. It's just like the camera's like right here, and Phil's leaning on a monitor up front and just looking up at him saying, watching Slayer for the last time.
Yeah.
That's and for some of you who don't know, I keep forgetting, dude. Phil Anselmo's the lead singer of Pantera.
Right.
Lead singer of Pantera looking at Slayer for the very last time. They used to play together. Those guys used to hang out with each other, man.
Yeah.
Shoot. So what are your...
All right. Well, the first Slayer tune I ever heard, I got into Slayer a little late, a couple albums deep, but I could never get sick of South of Heaven, ever. Yeah. Skeletons. Good. I mean, forget about it. Final Six, man. I love that.
It's a good tune.
Jihad.
You've been you're freaking deep cuts, bro.
Yeah, man. No, yeah. And then Eyes of the Insane. You know what? I had Seven Faces written down, but yesterday driving home, listened to Jose Mangan and Liquid Metal. I heard Eyes of the Insane. I went, oh man, that's I gotta scrub. I gotta go back and go Eyes of the Insane. It's too cool.
Yeah, mine will be more of the tracks that people probably know. This is a very difficult one to answer.
Right. Yeah.
So Angel of Death. It's just Angel of Death because it's so iconic.
It's the personification.
Yeah.
Slayer.
Yeah. Talk about picking the most controversial topic you could ever write about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The Holocaust.
Right.
And from the perspective of the Angel of Death, what's his name? Whatever, the guy who did all the experiments and that kind of crap.
Yep.
And so people kind of misinterpreted it at first as if it was glorifying this guy. No, that's heavy metal is about realism, bro.
Right.
It's about pulling the veil back on a plastic world and showing you the evil, not taking a side, just speaking what it is. So Angel of Death. The other reason why I also pick some of these is because if people want to check out Slayer, check out these tunes as your introduction here. Angel of Death. Next one, I love Hell Awaits.
Oh, right on, yeah.
Because that was the second album, and it took so long for them to get to Hell Awaits after Show No Mercy. So and it was a jump in production, just like Ride the Lightning was a jump in production from Kill 'Em All. You know what I mean? So it was just that evil quiet in the beginning, then it just starts going in and just, oh my gosh. And it's called Hell Awaits.
Yeah, right.
Hell Awaits. Rain in Blood.
Yep.
Black Magic.
All right.
From the first album. I love that song. And I love Ghosts of War.
Yeah, right on. Good. So we didn't mirror any. Right on.
Oh,
good.
How about that?
Cool. I love when we do that.
Yeah, man. Upcoming Q&A. And just to show that this is metal connoisseurs here, bro.
Right.
We're not just sitting here talking about, Crazy Train.
Yeah, right. You could skip number 4.
Okay.
Just
Yeah. Okay. Number 5. First off, he said, I already wrote to Mac to thank him because his Sentinel material helped me and my family a couple weeks ago when a man tried breaking in our front door.
Yeah, baby.
How about that? My question is for CST programming. Now, CST means combat strength training. Mm-hmm. If you can only train 3 days per week, which days does he combine, i.e. power and speed, etc.?
Yeah, so I talk about this whenever I give a short briefing on the combat strength training program, because I understand that not everybody has 5 days a week. Right. So I talk about it right up front. You could combine. So anyway, the work week's broken down into a power day, a strength day, speed and quickness, hypertrophy, and skills. So with power, rate of force production, no speed, no power. So you could combine both power and speed day, right? You combine those, and then you can combine strength and hypertrophy. But yeah, it's a good question, but it's one that I answer while I'm giving that class.
Right.
Because I totally understand. Not everybody's got 5 days. So yep, those two can be combined, power and speed, and strength and hypertrophy.
Let me seize the moment and just mention, in case you guys didn't know, Mac has come out with his resistance bands, and he got the first batch in, and we went live with it and sold out in 48 hours.
Yeah. Got
the next batch in, went live with it, sold out in what?
About the same
time.
Yep.
So you're getting some more in here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm after the Christmas rush, because I'm trying to
recover.
Not only recover, but I work with shipping guys who work their asses off, and they've got a small company, and they don't need to be overwhelmed.
Right.
They're going to be overwhelmed for Christmas.
So Mac's being merciful.
Yeah, well, it's a deal we brokered too. They asked me not to, and I said, "Oh, totally get it." Yeah, right. So it'll be one of those New Year's resolution gifts.
Well, and I bring this up not just to mention the bands, which we'll be always talking about, because we are also sponsored by Get You Some Resistance Bands.
Yeah.
But I got my set from Mac, and dude, those things are crazy.
Yeah, right.
They are crazy. Yep.
Especially if you follow the tutorial, that Joe built for us.
I love, because to me, it opened up Pandora's box, especially on the ab stuff.
Right.
And then I added it to break up some stuff that I would normally might do with something more weight. Mm-hmm. And Of course, like you said, you can move a little bit forward. It increases the the resistance, etc. But wow, dude, the body responds so differently to the bands than anything else. And so to combine them with other things, dude, I'm sitting there going, I know I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg with these things, man.
Right.
But the thing is that I could see early on is how you could slap the out of yourself with those things, dude.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about it. I thought, well, how bad can it be?
It can be pretty bad if you hit yourself in the jimmy.
Well,
or right in the beak.
I had one that didn't hit me in the face, but it just kind of it had the most, it flapped up hard and it slapped me on the arm. And I thought, but I mean, it came so fast and slapped so hard. I was like, and that was one of the lighter bands. So I'm like, man, if I'd have done that wrong, I'd have clocked myself royally.
Let's go to number 7. 6 is like,
Okay.
I could answer number 6 real quick.
All right.
Is a shotgun obsolete?
Is a
combat tool?
Combat tool.
No, because it's used as a breaching tool.
Okay.
So, but
I noticed that sometimes pictures of guys that are operators would have a ton of.
Yeah. But I kind of like number 7 because I could go on a little bit of a rant.
Okay. If you could form the ultimate supergroup based on the 1 member per instrument model, vocals, guitar, bass, drums, who would be your players? And is there a place for keyboards?
So I hate supergroups.
Yeah.
I hate them. None of them have ever turned, rarely they turn out anything. They might turn out a song or two. After that, they just shit the bed. And I think the reasoning is because they're all chiefs.
Yeah.
There's no Indians.
Right.
So if I were to have a supergroup, it would be Metallica minus Kirk and add Dave Mustaine and just tell Dave Mustaine to keep his mouth shut.
Wow.
But I'm adamant about that.
Wow. Wow. That changes I was thinking something. I was thinking, well, we just, Frankenstein a group together.
Right. But the thing is, you probably have a good answer. But the thing is, my observation has been, please don't supergroup, man. Please. Because they rarely freaking work. Because you got all chiefs. Everybody's got his own individual, well, this is what we did in this band. And that, they're all organic to themselves. And there's no band flavor anymore, you know?
Right.
Because you've got all these guys who come from different walks of life or different bands, and they do what they do. So, so the band hasn't matured together.
Right.
They haven't gone through turmoil and all these troubles of trying to create a tune. They already know, they've already walked the walk.
Right.
So,
yeah, I would put Dave Lombardo on drums.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put Dave Ellefson on bass.
Yeah.
I would put in the rhythm guitar position Dan Camilleri from Mashiach.
Oh, right on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because James Hetfield, although a great rhythm player, would be too much of a distraction.
Right.
Okay. But, dude, I would put Dime on lead guitar because Dime's never had a backup guitar player to play rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then I'd put Rob on vocals.
The
metal
nice.
God. That would be my super
metal
group.
god.
But I think it would be interesting to hear that kind of band.
Let's see if we got to skip one here.
Okay.
We could skip.
You want to talk about your most challenging? I don't have any hobbies.
I've got a ton of hobbies. So this one is, how do y'all, random question, what's your favorite or most challenging hobby that you're not very good at, in parentheses, yet? All of mine. All of them are challenging, and I am not good at any of them. So I love drawing. I love all the artsy fartsy stuff. I love playing guitar. I'm not good at it. I love playing the drums. Not good at it. My time is consumed,
Right.
And what else? I mean, it goes on and on. Photography, getting artsy fartsy with photo, because the last time that I bought equipment was like 15 years ago, and that crap is obsolete. It still works well.
Yeah.
But I'm so far behind the power curve now. So, but all of them.
Yeah, I don't have hobbies. If there was anything that was a hobby, meaning something I do besides work, it would be hanging out. So because I get so much out of what I do, and what I do is based on my most important innate giftings. So, for example, in a given week, I'll not just do podcasts and write articles and all of that, I'll also design book covers and logos and all of that. So I get, you know what I mean? It's a constant feeding of the creative vibe.
Yep.
I'm not going to go from that to something else. Someone asked me, because I used to play guitar a lot. And someone said, when are you going to pick up the guitar again, dude? How come you don't play? I said, because I can't play casual.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm going to want to be the best at it. And I know what I'll do. It's like I don't play golf because I know it's an expensive sport. Because it seems like it would be something that would fit my personality.
Right.
Something that's individual based. You know what I mean? Something that you can clearly measure the improvements, and it would be real technical in terms of the technique and shit. Dude, that would be too damn motivating for me.
Right. Yeah.
Too much.
And that's another one that I have, golf. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
So anyway, that's Hobby Lobby from the University of Badassery. Okay.
9 I can answer real quick.
Go ahead. Mike, have you ever worked with the Air Force Special Operations surgical teams?
The Air Force Special Ops guys are badass. They're like the combat controllers.
Yeah.
And PJs, they're badass. They're true. The CCT guys, true quiet professionals. They're really super badass. And I like that they're not in the limelight. You know, you don't hear a lot about them.
Right.
But dude, man, those guys freaking rock.
Now, I didn't know a whole lot about the Air Force, but there was something very interesting I learned about the Air Force when I was here for Thanksgiving. I was talking to you and your daughter, Ashley, about the bases. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
It was
Air Force bases, yeah. Yeah.
like as compared to Army bases.
Yeah, man, they're like country clubs. Yeah. Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous.
So they were talking about all there was like full on like chain restaurants.
Yeah, no, I mean even like the chow halls, you know, the chefs wear chef caps and matching jackets, and I remember going through the chow line the first time I was ever on the Air Force Base. It was probably like 1986. It was Nellis in Vegas, and the guy asked me, "Do you want an omelet?" And I went, "Okay." And he said, "How many eggs?" And I was looking at him like he had a dick growing out of his forehead. I said, 5? He goes, "Sure." I was like, holy crap, man. Because, you know, in the Army, the chow halls aren't like that at all. You know, you just go through a line and they're slapping it on a tray.
I think that's awesome, man. Yeah. So
there were fish tanks in the chow hall.
Really?
Yep. Potted plants.
So, yeah. So everybody can, you know, try to put down other branches of the military until you start hanging out there. You're like, hey, you know, it's good to have these boys on our team. For Mike in Connecticut, for the preacher and the commando, how do you, if you do, overcome feelings of inadequacy when failing to meet personal goals or standards? Just, he says, meddle up and get you some. Mac?
All right.
Well, Mac never fails, so.
No, well, I talk about failing a lot.
He never makes a mistake.
Nope, all the time. But here's the thing. It is human to fail. It is a biological requirement for us human beings to fail. But when we do fail, we have to learn from it. We have to learn from the past, prepare for the future, perform in the present. And we can't let that failure become a recurring theme. If that failure is a recurring theme, that's a red flag, bro. You got something wrong with you. Boom. Yeah. Now, the other thing is with failing, you have to be able to fail quickly. Don't spend a lot of time failing. Spend a little bit of time failing. Right. And then understand that and embrace it, that it is a teaching point or a learning point. Right. So that's my answer on that.
Well, that's it.
Because I when I run courses, I tell guys, trust me, guys, we are all, when the first guy fails, I say, hey, when it comes to failing, finish strong or finish looking cool. And they crack up. I said, no, really, we are all going to fall flat on our dicks, all of us, including me. Right. But you might not notice when I fail in a course of fire. Right. Because I'm going to finish either strong or finish looking cool. Right. I'm not going to finish with my tail between my legs.
There you go. Boom. Now, we talked about failure before. The one thing I'll note is what we have said in the past, and that is that failure is a mechanical term. Okay. It's not an emotional term. We've adapted it to our life, just like we've adapted stress from the engineering community. We've adapted depression from the financial community, but these are not, the ancients would say, they would not use the word depressed. You will not see the word depression used in the ancients. They would say despair, right? So stress is also, it's an engineering term. Failure is a mechanical term. And so if you go into the Ford or Chevy research laboratories and they're coming up with new engine ideas and they're trying different stuff, guess how many times that shit fails?
Right.
All the time. Do they get personal about it? No. You just call it for what it is. It's failure, and you fix and you renew and you change. The big problem people have is they make everything personal. Right. Now, you shouldn't feel good about poor performance. Don't get me wrong. I'm not all about the give everybody a trophy thing.
Nope.
I'm not trying to be best loser here, right? You should feel bad about poor performance without turning on yourself. And that should be the goal. You don't want to become an enemy. So the way I look at it is like the old saying goes, right? Get right back on the horse. The key when you fail in any discipline is to not waste any time feeling guilty, because guilt and self-condemnation will not help you reach your goals any faster. Ergo, then you should get right back to what you were doing as if you never faltered.
Right on.
Period. We're going to stop the podcast right there. We've said enough. No. Now, number 11. This dude is an ornithologist, and I assume you know what that means, Mac.
Damn straight.
What is your favorite bird to see, favorite bird fact, and or why did you get interested in birds?
Well, I guess I'll start there. When I was a kid, I had all the sissy hobbies. You know, I played the violin, I rode a unicycle, I drew to Captain Bob, for those in the audience old enough to remember who Captain Bob was. And it happened on a walk once, just seeing birds and wondering what they were. And I started coaxing them in, you know, with food. Right. And my dad would go to this ice cream shop and he'd get all the popcorn leavings for me. Right. At the bottom of the popcorn maker, because they just put them in a trash bag and threw them away at the end of the day. Right. So I would coax them in with that. But and then, you know, as soon as I got a bird guide, I was like, holy crap, there's a lot of birds out there. How many can I see? And you're not going to be able to see them all, which is cool. Let me see. Favorite bird fact. There's so many of them. I think a cool one, I like bootios, accipiters, eagles, falcons, you know, birds of prey, owls, Harris hawk in the Southwest, which is one of like a falconer's favorite. Right. They're capable of like deductive reasoning, and they will also hunt in a team. Oh, wow. Yeah, they will conduct a hunt in a team, which is pretty freaking neat. Favorite bird to see, I'm all over the map. It could be a bird of prey or owl, something that you don't see all the time, or it could be something super small in a big bunch of wax myrtle bushes, and you're wondering, what the hell is that, man? Oh, and then you get binos and you realize it's an indigo bunting or a ruby crown kinglet. It's so freaking cool because I haven't seen one in a couple years. Yeah, so anyway. They're fast, like fish. The combination of color and design on fish and birds are the trippiest thing out of anything in the world. I mean, the big cats and other, you know, ground 4-footed animals, they're all pretty. There's pretty dogs and pretty horses and all. But dude, you can't, like the fish, they glow, man. It's like fluorescent glow of colors and patterns that are just unspeakable. Also with songbirds, I mean, each bird has a unique song, and it's ridiculous. I mean, the amount. What's your favorite bird song? Let me think about that. Well, everybody loves, I mean, Carolina Wren's great, you know, because you could hear those a mile away, and they're so upbeat. You know, it's the happiest song ever. I just talked about that Indigo Bunting. Great freaking tune on that one. You know what I love hearing is a wood thrush, because it's like almost ominous. It's a cool song to hear. But I don't know. I could go on and on about it. Yeah. So that's birds. Yep. Ornithologists. Mm-hmm. So what is an ornithologist? Bird watcher. Bird watcher. Okay. So the ornithologist, I mean, you figured you got to get a degree for that. Yeah. You kind of copping a professional name there. Right. That ain't right. I'm taking it. What skills, Mac, did you find easiest or hardest to learn in the military? Which translate best and worst to civilian life, excluding related to your current work? Man, I could go so many directions with this one. So I just wrote down, you know, whatever came to mind. The easiest ones for me to learn were the physical skills. Harder were some of the more technical skills. There was a bunch of math. Okay. But I loved it. I realized, man, I love math and I'm good at it. Like being a 18 Echo, a Special Forces communicator. Right. You had to learn like radio wave propagation and trigonometry. Oh, okay. And I love math because there's one answer. Just that. Let me see. Where's this that relate to civilian life? Yeah. Survival, leadership, discipline, giving orders and taking orders. Boom.
He still takes orders from Rebecca.
Yep. I'll take it for whoever's got a degree in good ideas.
Yep. There you go. What do you think you might have done, Mac, if you hadn't joined the military? He'd be in a band.
That's right. That's what I tell people, man. I'd be a front man. I'd be a front man in a heavy metal band. I have no idea, but that's what I tell people, that if for some reason somebody sent me back and said, you can't be in the military, that's what I would try to do.
Posthumously, Mac would be the front man of a metal band.
Yeah. Could skip 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 15. We got 67, Mac.
Yeah, right now. No, yeah.
If you could only listen to one band, only that band, no other band or type of music for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I got my answer for this. My answer is Megadeth.
I'd say Metallica.
Right on. Well, the reason I picked Megadeth over Metallica, well, no, there's some similarities here, is because they had a bunch of underrated albums. Right. So did Metallica.
Right.
And that we don't go back to. Like Megadeth had Super Collider, Endgame, Dystopia, Cryptic Writings, United Abominations, 13, and Risk. Mm-hmm. And all of them have really good tunes on them. But, we think Megadeth, we think Rust in Peace and all the big,
right.
Even Countdown and all those. But man, they just have so much material.
That's a good argument, because in other words, it's like saying this. It's like saying if I went with Metallica, I'd have 5 items. If I went with Megadeth, I'd have a dozen.
Right. And the other thing is with Megadeth, you had a plethora of guitar players.
Right. Yeah. See, it's a different band each time,
right.
No, that's a very, very good argument. So I changed my answer to Megadeth.
All right.
Number 16. Can you talk about that one? Okay.
And number 17
either. Number 18. Did you ever have an experience where through observing someone else, you said, holy shit, don't be that guy? Situations where you realized there was a fork in the road under your feet you had not noticed.
Well,
yeah, on the other side, on the enemy side.
That was worded funny. So what I wrote down is note, because I was that guy. Well, I was that guy in a couple instances. Number one, when I retired, picking low-hanging fruit, working for a corporation, right? When I retired. And I tell people, don't be that guy. Don't be like me.
Right.
There was a fork. There was a fork. The other one is with relationships, because I got into a bad relationship a decade and a half ago, and thankfully I'm not in it anymore. I got the best relationship in the world now, but there was red flags.
Right.
And I tell dudes, if I am legitimately their friend and they ask, yeah, I am getting married, I will just come out with it. I'll just tell them, that's a bad idea, bro. I'd advise against it.
Right.
I am your friend, and if you don't like my answer, then you could tell me fuck you. But
yeah,
but I've been there, and so
yeah, something I've been working on for my own coaching group, and it's based on the whole philosophy behind defensive driving. Because I love that concept that if you go to learn driving, you're going to learn defensive driving, meaning the whole premise of it is that everybody else is a jackass,
right?
That everybody else is not paying attention. And of course, this goes into what you talk about with your car as your limo in the Sentinel teaching, because you can't rely upon other people to follow the rules, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So that you are living in a world full of people who will constantly break rules, whether intentionally or not paying attention or whatever. And so you're going to be life will be filled with that guy.
Right.
Or is your head on a swivel? Are you watching out for that guy?
And my answer for that, let me see who experience making food. Oh yeah, I could.
Okay. Let me read it. So can you describe, this is from Matt, can you describe the experience of not making the cut for the first time you tried out for the unit? It seems like previously in your career, you'd been running the table. How did you mentally relate to what could seem like a setback, check yourself, and gas it up and burn it down the next time, which happens to be the shirt he's wearing?
Yeah, right. So I broke my ankle first time going through selection.
Oh, that's right.
I broke it on day one.
Oh, damn.
Now, the break wasn't bad because it was straight up the bone. Right. But the sprain that was attached to it was really bad.
Right.
It was swelling more and more every day. I had to, I had to spread my boot apart to get my foot into it, and then I had to duct tape my ankle, around the boot. But it got to the point where I realized this is stupid.
Yeah.
And this could be debilitating. This could be permanent.
Right.
So I pulled myself, and the guy who I reported to said, as long as you're not cheating yourself. And I said, I am not. and I felt good about it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and I got an invite back.
Oh, good.
So that invite back fired me up, man.
There you go.
It really bolstered my spirits and put wind under my wings, and I tore it up the next time. I was ready. Yeah, I was fueled.
Now, David Goggins is known for his 2 or 3 times he went through buds and had the shin splints and all the crap, whatever, and pressed through the pain.
Yeah, and he tried out for unit selection too a couple times.
I've heard from people 3 or 4 times saying, you guys need to have David Goggins on. I'm like, you know what? I get that. I get why people want us to talk to him. But I'm just like, you know what? There's a lot of badasses out there. But also, man, that guy's been interviewed to death. And it's kind of like, that's all he's going to talk about.
Yep.
Is overcoming pain to go through whatever. And it's like, okay, well, how extensive a conversation is that going to be?
Right.
No slight to the guy, I mean, at all. I'm just, because I know people keep wanting us to do certain things. Well, there's a reasoning behind whether we will or won't, you know. We're still like, hey, we want to get Jose Mangan on here, bro. Talk about metal.
Yep.
But anyway, so Mac had to face that, and he went back in and made it through the next time. Let's see. It's a long one.
Yeah, and we could read through this one, but I already answered it.
Okay. What's the gist of the question?
The gist of the question is, I'm a career military guy. I'm getting out.
Right.
That kind of thing. And I kind of answered it by saying most guys, when they retire,
right,
it's the easiest course of action. You know, they're picking the road most traveled, so it's low hanging fruit.
Right.
Now that's not a bad thing if you consider it just a launching platform for something bigger. But you got to go into it thinking that way, which I did not. Thankfully, it worked out for me.
Right.
But I think that's pretty much what he's asking. You know,
he says, I do have a master's degree, just not necessarily committed to what I have done in the Corps as a war fighter.
Right.
Well, I will say this in relation to career and purpose, and I hope this is helpful to you. Sometimes you have to distinguish between vocation and calling. Sometimes people use the words interchangeably. I like to separate them. Your calling would be the most important thing you can do and which are the most difficult to replace. Your vocation is something just based on payroll, okay? So sometimes you have to use your vocation to pay for your calling. So for example, Mac and I are fulfilling a measure of our calling. There are lots of people, for example, that can teach tactical firearms and stuff. So Mac's got a lot of competition. He still may be the big hen in the house, whatever, but still there's a lot of competition. Is Mac replaceable in terms of that? Well, I guess you could say that. I mean, is a bartender replaceable? Right? But when it comes to the most important thing Mac could do with his abilities, knowledge, experience, talents, in which he's more difficult to replace, that would be his calling. Therefore, maybe firearms instructor is not his calling. It's more vocation. And so now he's sitting here on the podcast doing something much closer to his calling, speaking out of that collective resource that he has, his mind, his spirit, his motivation, his gifts, and empowering the lives of thousands of people on the other side of this microphone. Harder to replace.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So you can have a woman who is a bartender, replaceable. Mother, irreplaceable. Which one is her calling? Which one is her vocation? Sometimes you can have them both be the same. So if we get enough sponsors, or out of this we sell tons of books and shirts and all kinds of things, and we make our money based on podcasting and everything else we do, then vocation is paying for calling. They've blended into one. So I would ask you, my brother, what is your calling? What is the most important thing that you can do with your gifts, talents, and abilities in which you are the most difficult to replace? Now, it may be that nobody will pay you to do that at this point. Then use whatever vocation you can and stop thinking about it, because it doesn't have to be forever. We can't steer a parked car, so you got to move your ass. So plan in pencils and be ready to erase. We start heading down because this is what I tell college students or gals that are going to go into college or something like that. They're not quite sure what to choose. I always say, listen, so because they get neutralized, they don't know what decision to make. So I said, listen, which is the easier decision to make, a general one or a specific one? The general decision. Okay, well then make a general decision.
Yeah. Right.
So start heading down. Just pick something that you feel like and just because you can always refine as you go. You can always change paths. You can always adjust as you go. When I went into art school, I went into for commercial art, and I was an illustrator. I was a painter. I was a drawer. That was the kind of person I was. But they had two streams in the school, which was a design stream and an illustration stream. Well, I was a part of the illustrated part. So we're the kids who could really do photorealistic paintings and all that kind of crap. And so we made fun of the kids that were in the design because we were like, you're just using flat shapes and typography because you can't draw.
Right.
I graduated with best design portfolio.
All right.
So during that process, I realized that my gift to draw wasn't the full development of the gift, the fullest expression of it. In other words, the more I submitted that basic gift to discipline, the more it grew and started to become redefined, and I saw different things. Then I realized I put down the pencil and embraced design. But then it kept growing from there to there to there until I got into branding and marketing and public relations, to where when I'm in my element, I don't need a mouse, a computer, a pen, a pencil, nothing. I am a conceptual thinker. I know how to solve your problem. And it all started with just drawing cowboys and football players as a kid.
Oh,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to submit the gift to the discipline and it'll grow. But that's how I would approach that stuff. Okay. Question for the podcast. Pat has been doing, it's me. Pat has been doing the basic dude stuff on Wednesdays, and it's been incredible. And it has been taking the world by storm. Bro.
Yeah, man.
CJ, other than listening to metal, of course, what are some of the basic dude stuff you think young males should be doing these days? You'll grow hair on your palm if you keep doing it. No, I think the most important thing that I could say to men is, because we're in a day now where masculinity is obviously under fire, I don't get into the chest beating, hey, look, I hunt fish, therefore I am a man. That's reactionary. That's not what we need. We don't need dudes with just more tattoos, more beards, more deadlifts, more whatever. You know what I mean? Just ostensible manhood. That's ostensible manhood. It's easier for you to hide behind that. See, because I'm 5'7", okay? So I'm growing up, everybody was bigger than me, and I spent most of all my junior high and high school years in Texas. Fucking giants down there, dude. Everybody is a giant. I remember, I think I might have told this story before, but I hit this kid. I punched this kid because he made fun of my white jeans in the in the smoking area, man. So I knocked him out because I just hit him so hard, and I immediately felt bad about it. So I helped him up, just as quick as I hit him. And I hooked up with some friends, high school friends, after so many years in 2008, and we visited in Texas at a friend's house, and we were talking about that. And this dude goes, dude, do you remember when you hit Jeff Quinn? I said, oh, man. I said, dude, I was 5-0, 100-0. I had no business hitting anybody. He paused for a second. His name's Andrew Drago. He said, dude, you know what? You were always 7 feet tall in your own mind.
Damn straight.
So we don't need ostensible whatever, but I would say this, the most important thing that you could do as a male is this. Understand how powerful a mother's love is, because it's the one thing that keeps the world together. And you're here and who you are because of a mother. The world is sane because of mothers. Those are the ones, it's the closest thing we'll ever get to unconditional love. For a good, obviously there's trashy mothers out there, but for the most part, the reason why we're stable is because of moms. When kids come home from college, right, for the holidays, they're not coming back to the house. They're coming back to mom, right? And they open the door and they smell the incense and the sights of mom, right? The potpourri. I mean, I couldn't spell potpourri till I got married. You know what I mean? So these are the things, but these women give birth to babies. They produce human beings. And then as soon as that baby comes out of the womb, they are transformed to where they were all about that man. And then once that baby comes in, they will slit his throat if he lays hands on that child.
That's right.
Right? And they'll do anything for their children. Even when their kids are running like devils, they will do anything for their kids. That's what keeps the world together. Not money, not power, not America, not patriotism. What keeps the world together are mothers. But think about this. They're also the most defenseless.
Yeah.
Because when they're taking care of that kid, they can't defend themselves. When they can't provide. So you are a male with the ability to protect and provide the most powerful thing that keeps the world together. You learn that and you'll fix the world. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Protect women and children. All right.
Good answer.
How do we approach individuals who are in a deep state of depression? You've got a unique perspective on this, Mac. You've shared some stories with me, and I think what people don't realize, and you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I know you've told me some stories, but I don't want to invite people to hit you up either, but you have invested time in people in bad spots.
Right. Well, the thing is, if you're approaching somebody with deep depression, they could be suffering. More than likely, they are suffering from LLPOF, liar, liar, pants on fire, because you're not going to know it.
Right.
You're not going to know. They're not going to talk about it. You have no idea if they're talking about them being depressed. They're LLPOF, liar, liar, pants on fire.
That's an interesting point.
Yep. I mean, look at like Anthony Bourdain. It's masked. Like I faked the hell out of it. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. There are signs. There are signs. There's symptoms, and a couple people that were close to me knew that I was not right, but they were close to me.
Right.
But if you are extremely close to somebody, and I think hard love, is the best way to go about that. That's when guys write me, and talk about their issue. I read through it over and over and over and over again, because if I can help somebody out, I'm going to do that. But in some cases, it's tough love.
Right.
Bro, put a rubber band around your neck and snap the fuck out of it. You don't have it that bad. You really don't. Take a look around. Look at what you have versus what you don't have. Look at what you're doing versus what you think you aren't doing because of, hurdles or obstacles, or life is, giving you a bad hand. So yeah, you got to look out for those.
Yeah. It's
people just looking for attention.
Depression is probably the number one subject. And this is after 10 years on Mental Motivation, where you're getting feedback from people on social media. I've dealt with this stuff beforehand as coach, counselor, that kind of thing. But social media is when you're getting feedback from an audience. So out of the 10 years that I've been doing Mental Motivation, depression, anytime I talk about that, is when people get the most upset.
Right.
Because they don't want you to say it's their fault. They don't want, to be told they need to just metal up. They want to show you that it's chemical, something they can't control.
Yep.
Now, I will cede the chemical issue. There's no doubt about it. You can be born with a propensity for certain things. And I know some people who have these shifts, the bipolar issues and whatnot. Yep. So I will cede chemical. However, that does not mean your solution is synthetic.
Right.
So because your body is producing this chemical that you don't like, but your body can also produce other chemicals that you do like. Endorphins, for example. Endorphin, morphine.
Yep.
It's your own morphine supply.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So two people can, the basics is that two people can get on an airplane. One person is scared to death of flying. The other person loves it. They will have the exact same physical experience, but two different chemical experiences. Mm-hmm. One will be releasing adrenaline and cortisol, harmful to their system. The other one will probably be asleep. Right?
Yep.
Two people go to a roller coaster. One scared to death of them. The other one loves them.
Elated.
Right? One will release endorphins. Mm-hmm. The other one will release adrenaline and cortisol. Same roller coaster. Mm-hmm. They will experience the exact same movements, the exact same speed at the exact same time, but they will have completely internally different experiences. That's chemicals, okay? But what's it based on? Initially, it's based on the way each one of them interprets a roller coaster.
Right, yeah.
So, but now, so you can tell me, so somebody, and I've had people tell me, nothing helps, man. I said, okay, well then let me come by in your worst state when you're going through this. And I come in and I tell you, hey, guess what? You won the lottery. $100 million. Will you roll over on the couch, tell me you don't care, roll back and put your face on the pillow and just bemoan everything? Or will some other chemicals kick in?
Right.
Right. Now, that doesn't fix your depression, okay? Doesn't fix it, but don't tell me other chemicals won't kick in. Therefore, what are you doing to kick in other chemicals? You know what I mean?
Yep.
What are you doing?
Yep.
So I think what Mac's saying is right. I think people tend to exaggerate, if you want to call it that way. They exaggerate the situation because they get attention about it. That's why they talk about it. They're kind of in that victim role, and that's what victims do. They find identity in pain because it justifies where they are. You know what I mean? If I always talk about my past, for example, and how bad it was, that's my excuse for why I'm not living the life I should be. Because you don't know what happened to me, man.
Yeah.
Right. So let's try to push past those things by doing things and experiencing things, imbibing things that produce different chemicals. Okay.
I don't know how to answer 24.
How should an individual address the topic of free will with someone who may not believe in it? Well, let me say this. There's no such thing as a free will because your will is never free. You're always subject to temptations, to stoplights, to, you know what I mean? Things are imposed. I have a series I did on willpower, and the whole premise is that willpower is kind of a slippery slope. It doesn't really mean anything. Your will is just a final decision to do that which you desire most. Therefore, if you lack in willpower, you need to strengthen the desires you want to be more dominant in your life, and you'll strengthen your will. But how would you address the topic of free will? Well, if that's important, dive into the philosophy of free will. Read Jonathan Edwards on predestination. I mean, consult the philosophers. But in my argument, there is no such thing as absolute free will because you're always subject to temptation, desires. Number 25, Mac has to answer this. Will Professor Rebecca ever be on the podcast? She seems just as badass as you two guys. Now, when he wrote that in, I said, nobody's as badass as those two guys.
That's right. She's pretty
close,
great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Also, can Rebecca do basic chick stuff for the ladies in the audience? Well, we talked about having Rebecca on.
About it. Yeah, we talked about it.
Actually, she mentioned it too. She'd like to be on sometime. Yeah, we'll do that. Maybe sometime we'll have that element in.
And she's working on basic chick stuff too.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. She already posted one on her story. It was awesome. It was great.
Oh, no, nice.
Yeah.
All right, question from Max CJ. Was getting in a good groove with diet and exercise when I tore my ACL and what's that word? Meniscus. Had surgery 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying to stay loose and not get gelatinous. Any tips for working out with limited equipment, dumbbells, Pilo box, ruck bike with one leg? Thanks for what you guys do. The podcast is awesome.
Yeah, it depends how disciplined you are, man. I mean, I had ACL replacement and meniscus repair same time. Not only that, but I also had just 2 months later, I figured, well, I'm down. May as well go down all the way because I need my back operated on.
Oh, okay.
So L5-S1 discectomy. And I still did stuff, man. I still had my arms. I got on one of those pedalers, where you're just pedaling with your arms. And I rode the hell out of that thing. Plus, nowadays, I mean, you're told to work out. They have you working out as soon as you get out of the operating room, wake up from the recovery room.
Really?
You're on a stationary bike.
No kidding.
Yeah. I mean, they want that thing in motion.
Oh.
So
because motion is lotion, Mac?
Yeah, motion is lotion. Hell yeah, man. Mobility equals survivability. Let me see. He didn't. Let me see. Surgery 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So he could do all those things. Plus, when the Get You bands are back in stock, dude, man, he needs to work that transverse plane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you really need to get that whole leg strong again because it's all about the supporting muscles, man. And then working compound too. Don't work in. Now, some of your physical therapy is going to require you to work in isolation, like to build a strong quad and a strong cap. But you also need to work in compound movements as well.
Right.
Yeah. But it depends how disciplined you are and then how creative you are as well. Yeah, man. And then, because one of the things, and I think I talk about this on another question is you don't want to fall into a vicious cycle of events. When we get injured, we tend to gain weight. When we gain weight, it's harder. It's longer for us to recover.
Right.
It's longer for us to recover. Now we don't work out as hard.
Right.
So it's just a vicious cycle of events. So don't fall into that. Stay strict with your diet because you're not going to be burning as many calories and moving as much.
Yeah. Do you want to skip number 27? It's a metal question.
Oh, yeah.
Do y'all consider metalcore, for example, As I Lay Dying, Parkway Drive, Killswitch Engage, real metal or no? Always a debate if that's real metal. I don't listen to it. So
I listen to a bunch of it. And there's a couple of these bands that he mentioned, like I have high hopes for. I'm hoping that they go through a metamorphosis.
Right.
Like Parkway Drive. Because when they started out, it was to me it was a little bubblegum, and but like as they progressed, I mean it's getting harder and heavier, and it's more in tune, and you can tell they're finding their roots and they're gaining experience. I'm hoping that they're going to be led by those who follow them, and there's more and more of a metal audience following a band like Parkway Drive, but I like a few of those bands, like some of As I Lay Dying. When there's a couple times I'll hear a band I'm listening to, like a Pandora, I'm going, damn, that's good. Who is that? And I go, oh, As I Lay Dying. But I don't like everything that they do. But I'm and in Killswitch Engage, I consider them metal, man.
Yeah.
I do. I am going to go out on a limb, and I am going to take the blow and say yes. only if they have the metal attitude, though, because metal's an attitude.
Well, that was going to be my point.
Yeah, it's an attitude. It's not like the genre that they're playing. So like Killswitch, to me, they have a good metal attitude.
If Metal Mike was here, he probably would echo what I would say. There's definitely, from a musical standpoint, they're obviously playing heavy metal. That's not rock and roll. You know what I mean? Those are riffs, the way the guitars are being that's heavy metal. Right? These are not 2-minute songs, 3-minute songs. It's heavy metal in that sense. But is it real metal? And that's where it gets into the attitude and the lifestyle and the culture and the whatever. So if I look at the band and I have to ask myself, is it a metal band? It's not a metal band to me. But if I look at you, if I look at Goat Whore and there's spikes and leather and
right.
You know what I mean? I know that's a metal band, right? But if you look like you could be a pop band, I don't care how heavy and how much you scream. It's just, to me, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Something got lost in translation, bro. You know what I mean? It's like when you wash the sweater and it comes out small. Something like
right. Yeah.
But it's a great question for all of us metal snobs. Question for Mac. We know he likes to drink and go to bars. Oh, really? You do know that? How does he go about concealed carry when drinking? Because you can't be under the influence with a weapon, and most bars are 51%, and you cannot carry in those bars. I like to drink and find myself having to leave my pistol because I can't go from bar to bar with it.
Is this guy asking me in open forum if I break the law? I'm pretty sure that's what he's asking for everybody to hear. Now, if I were to carry and go to a bar, I would probably like find a place where I could sit outside the venue, you know? And the other thing is, if it ever happened, when I am out in public, I am never outside of my cognitive faculties. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then if I were also, I think like I would have to know the owner of the establishment, and so it were like permissible to the owner of that establishment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And
was I cryptic enough?
Well, in your case, that's 95% of the time.
Right.
You do not go gallivanting looking for new places.
Yep. Right.
He doesn't go from bar to bar.
Right.
We go from the Growler Shop to O'Donnell's.
Yep.
And tonight we might do Southern Pines Brewery.
Yep.
But this is places where you're known.
Right.
Right. So this brings up an interesting point. Again, because Mac, you brought me into this gun community, right? So So as an observer, and I watch the debates, and I watch people debate over the smallest things, from sights to hand position to what kind of gun. I watch people go off on all kinds of stuff. And it just, to me, it's as if every day they're facing very real threats all the time, that it's a literal just Wild West gun battle every day in the streets.
Right.
The way they talk about that stuff. You know what I mean? Whereas I've been on the planet 53 years and I've never been in a position as a tier 1 civilian where I have ever encountered anything that these guys are getting ready for. Now, that doesn't mean that's not important. We're just talking about the level of importance and judgment. So, for example, he's saying, I want to be able to go to bar and carry my gun. So, okay, well, instead of answering that question, let's back up and just say, okay, we'll do it. You're a Hellraiser, man. What are you doing going to a bar?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm wearing my 6-shooters too.
Now, concealed carry, does that mean, can you put it in your car? I mean,
yeah, concealed carry, it varies from state to state. But yes, you could put it in your car.
Okay.
If you have a concealed carry, it could be concealed in the car.
Okay. Now, can somebody who doesn't have a concealed carry have it in their car?
In this state, yes, but it has to be in the open.
So what does that mean?
It has to be visible.
Okay, so you can have it on your seat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But what if you get out of the car? Could you put it like away? So
I believe that there's some gray area there, but I believe you could, yes, you put it away because you're not next to it.
Right.
Yep. You could hide it, but because you're not next to it. But if you don't have concealed carry, you get in your car and it's concealed, then you're breaking the law.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. There's some gray area there. And the laws change slightly every once in a while.
Right.
I think we could skip 30 and 31 and go to 32.
Okay. Question number 32. You guys have mentioned a few books here and there. What are a few titles each that you would highly recommend? We get this a lot.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go a different route with this one.
Okay. The Bible.
Well, I'm going sort of. I'm going older school. I'm going American Lit.
Okay.
Only because I'm not sure if kids read American Lit anymore in school, but those guys were freaking badass, man. If you like Red Badge Courage, Stephen Crane, something like that, or Jack Kerouac, On the Road. That's cool.
Okay,
man.
I know who he is. I haven't heard of that book.
Or any one of Steinbeck's books.
All right, yeah.
So if that wasn't mandatory reading for you in school, I'm going to say go back to American Lit because I want to go back that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the crap I read is boring. It's all sports psychology and how the brain works and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was in jest, tongue in cheek about the Bible, but I would recommend that, not just simply for the religious purposes, but even Christopher Hitchens, the well-known anti-theist who's now dead, and his questions answered.
That right.
But he's famous for debating every Christian, and he wrote the book God Is Not Great and all of this sort of stuff. He even writes, I think it was for one of the major women's magazines. He wrote that his favorite pieces of literature of Western civilization, one of which was Shakespeare, obviously, but he said the other one was the 1611 King James Version Bible.
Huh.
He said the finest English prose next to Shakespeare. And it is. I was listening to Alexander Scourby, who's one of those like Ephraim Zimbalist kind of 1940s, 50s, almost English sounding actors, And he's reading. I was listening to him read the book of Isaiah. And that's a trippy stuff because that's God like saying, I'm going to kill all you sons of bitches.
Right.
But in the most poetic way possible, in the way he describes what's going to happen to the women and what's going to happen to the children. And this is what he's going to do to the Assyrians. And, and some of the stuff, I'm just like hanging my head just going, golly, it's absolute poetry. And it's great because it's not just one kind of literature. It's not the 10 Commandments. You have that, but you've got letters. You've got history, you've got songs, you've got books of wisdom, you've got gospel stories, you've got prophetic literature, apocalyptic literature like the book of Daniel, book of Ezekiel, book of Zechariah, the book of Revelation. So there's all these different kinds, 66 different books of all these different kinds of writers in different time periods, all unified in terms of their message. It's actually a remarkable thing. In fact, one of the amazing things about it is up until the 1940s, when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, what they call manuscript authority is the oldest, greatest amount of duplicate manuscripts that you have for a piece of ancient literature would determine its veracity or authority. So here's an example for the New Testament. We'll put it to you this way. The oldest non-religious piece of literature that we have, I think, is Homer's Odyssey. There's like 300 something manuscript from a particular time period that are duplicates. That's number one if you don't count the New Testament. New Testament, 24,600 copies, duplicate copies. So the Old Testament that we've had from dating back from basically the Reformation, Middle Ages up till now was based on manuscripts from the Middle Ages. Okay. So in other words, those were manuscripts that we had, but they only went back, no more than 1,000 or 1,200 years. So they weren't from, older periods. So that's the book of Isaiah, book of Ezekiel, whatever, that's what they were. Only that old. The New Testament was older, but the Old Testament, all we had was they were not that old, only about a millennium old, until the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then they found Isaiah from a few hundred years before Christ. And outside of some commas and whatever, they matched the ones that they had. So think about that. We can copy and paste stuff and know there's not going to be any error. But what do you got to do to preserve a document over thousands of years?
Right.
How do you do that, bro? Because when they do that, when the priests would do the copying, they had to go through a religious ceremony. They had to be baptized before they started. And then they had to stop on every certain number of words. And then they had to do things like if they messed something up, they had all of this, what you'd call a raw, ancient human technology to produce infallible documents over multiple generations. It's just incredible stuff.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'd read that book and
it's good. I like it.
Okay. Mac and CJ, what's your opinion of powerful female vocalists in metal? Singers like Flora Jansen of Nightwish, Sharon Den Adele of Within Temptation, and Brittany Slays of Unleash the Archers. We were talking about Arch Enemy.
Yeah, right.
The other day.
Yep. Sure enough. Yeah. And there's another that In This Moment, Maria Brink.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say the same about male singers. I mean, they've got to resonate the attitude, and they've got to be metal. Like when I saw In This Moment, I was like, damn, man, that chick is so badass. Unfreaking believable. She was a perfect front man.
Yeah.
I mean, damn, man. Really good. And there's some that I can't stand, man. I mean, there's some people are going to hate me, but that new band Pisces, is it Pisces? No, it's not Pisces. That's a song they sing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge connoisseur of that stuff.
Ugh.
But to answer this question, yeah, I mean, to me, it's like Roman Catholic we talked about earlier. Mary's called Mother of God. She's exalted in the church. So there's no feminism there.
Right.
You know what I mean? They truly exalt the female thing, and metal is good about that. Metal is good about female. You can have female-fronted bands, and nobody trips about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would mention my friend who I work with, Leah McHenry, who does that. She's like the metal Enya. She's badass, man. Right. And she's great too. So yeah, I'm all for it. You all for it?
Yep. All for it. Unless they suck.
Yeah. And even going into rock and roll, man, I mean, how do you not love the Hart Sisters?
It almost came out of my mouth. Yeah.
I mean, golly, man.
Yep.
Do you want to answer 35?
Stand by. Let me check. Nah.
I
can answer 36 quick.
Does Mac still do Montana trips? And if so, can people join him? Yes, for a fee.
People can join me if I've spent some time with them. Like I usually invite guys who want to go, who have been through a course of mine, because now I've spent 2 days with that guy.
Right.
And I know whether or not he's going to drive me batshit or not in the wilderness.
Right.
I'm not going to haphazardly meet some dude that I've never met at an airport.
Yeah.
And then go out in the wilderness with him. Hell no.
You're not giving tours?
Man, I need to, 2 days. If I spend 2 days with a dude, I'll know.
Yeah.
and
I haven't been yet, but
well, you haven't asked either.
it'd be a party like back like, dude, why'd you bring a keg? I thought we were going to. Okay. Hello, Mac and CJ. Greetings from the Czech Republic. Hey, good to have you, man. Hope you're having a wonderful day. We are. My question is, CJ, what do you do in your free time? Want to hear more about you? What are your oh my gosh. By the way, thanks for Chimera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to take a bunch of time talking about me. Enough about me. Let's talk about me. What do you do in your free time? I podcast with Mac.
Yep.
And I go drink with Mac. I eat soup with Mac.
Yep. That's it.
That's about it.
Yeah. Ain't got a lot of free time.
Yeah, not a lot of free time. I will, even though I got two of my kids at home, the youngest will be 22 next month. And the second one, my oldest left not too long ago, but my second one is 30 and they're using home as a base of operations. We hang out, man. We watch stuff. I have a list on my phone of all the vintage movies like Jeremiah Johnson,
right.
Rambo, and all that
Yep.
stuff. And so my daughter and I are slowly working through all what we would consider the classics.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so like we've been watching The Mandalorian together. Me and the kids watched The Irishman together, the new Netflix film. And I love that. People are poo-pooing. I'm like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, dude. It's Pesci. It's Pacino.
Oh, right.
It's De Niro. It's Harvey Keitel.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ray Romano.
Right. Those guys.
Directed by Martin Scorsese. I don't care that it's 3.5 hours long. It kept me, dude, the whole time.
Right
I
on.
loved it. I absolutely loved it. But anyway, that's what, I would spend time with my kids or good friends. Number 39, what concerts are you and Mac looking forward to next year? I don't have any.
Well, I wrote down, because you have to see them while they're still around. You got to see Metallica, Priest, Iron Maiden.
But are they playing this year?
Well, Metallica has plans, but Hetfield's back in rehab. So I'm not buying tickets yet because they're coming to Raleigh.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them the last time they were here.
And then Priest is in the studio.
Right.
So you know that they're going to tour again probably next year.
Man,
and then Maiden might as well.
Yeah, there might be some.
I go to big bands, man. I go to the big dudes. You know,
if
Megadeth comes back around.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see. I wait for, because you don't really necessarily get the word on it because they kind of put these tours together. We'll start to see in the first part of the year, but you'll get these tours where they'll throw like Obituary and Power Trip and so on, and it's coming at a smaller venue in your town. Yeah. I'm all about that.
Oh yeah,
really, really good bands, but because they don't have the massive followings, that's not at a stadium like a Metallica is, but it'll be some of the best metal you'll ever see, and you could see it live. But these bands are constantly touring, so you never really know. So it's not like it was in the old days when it was a big, you wore the tour short 1984 World Tour.
Right.
Remember that?
Yep.
Now it's like like I said, they're saying it's their farewell tour and then they're coming back. So who knows what the hell? I can't answer number 40 because, outside of classic boxing favorites, but you want to talk about this?
I wrote down a couple of answers.
5 all-time favorite boxing or MMA fighters?
Well, MMA, Hoist Gracie, number 1, because he started it. Plus, I trained with him in the early 90s, met him a few times. Nicest guy in the world.
Wow.
With ridiculous mad skill. And then another, this guy I really loved, and I don't even know if he probably still is on the scene, but Lyoto Machida, another Brazilian guy whose foundation is karate.
Okay.
But, still black belt, BJJ, and great freaking stand-up and good boxer. But people didn't like him because they thought he was a little boring.
Yeah.
But I thought, elusive. And don't get caught in that spider's trap, bro, because he will jack you up.
Now, my favorite fighter is Apollo Creed.
Yeah. And then, like boxers, man, I loved when Roy Jones was on the scene, Roy Jones Jr. He was so freaking cool, and he could throw a jab from a mile away. And he started, he raised fighting cocks.
Okay.
And he started mimicking his fighting cocks in the boxing ring.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was cool as hell. It was freaking neat. But, talk about make him pay. Roy Jones was so cool. And then my all-time favorite is Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, me too. I was just going to bring him up just to say,
Dude, he was just cool. He was cool all the way around, man. I mean, he did the whole change to Islam thing before it was just a trendy, cool thing to do.
Right.
He dodged the draft, but he actually went to jail for it.
Right.
So he did his time.
Right.
And man, that guy had a great gift of oratory too. Yeah. And he made being cocky fun and funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't understand talking smack or anything like that.
He kind of invented talking smack.
Yeah. The first rapper.
Right.
On the run.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, if the reason why Ali would be my favorite fighter of all time is because you have to have been there when Kiss came out. You have to have been there when Van Halen came out. You have to have been there when Maiden and Metallica came out. And you had to have been there when Ali was fighting Foreman and Frazier.
Dude.
And you had to see him get beat by Leon Spinks. You had to experience that pain.
Right. Yep.
You know what I mean? We were there. This was on
it was on television.
And if you never
Channel 3.
If you never experienced the banter of Muhammad Ali and Howard Cosell.
Oh my God, those guys were a riot. They were a riot.
That's history, man.
It's because I'm so pretty.
Well, I'm here with Muhammad Ali. Yeah. Dude, that was the greatest team.
Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
He loved Howard Cosell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What an interesting combination.
That dynamic.
Yeah, that was badass.
I got a good answer for 41.
Favorite lines of motivation from a metal band's lyrics. Go ahead, please.
See, I wrote mine down. All right. So I'm going to read them before you name the tune. Not you, CJ, but anybody out there. All right. So you are completely responsible for your own life, and no one is coming to save you from yourself. So stop blaming your problems on any and everybody else. It doesn't matter what tiny fucking bit, how unfair you think the world is. It's only what you do right here, right now, right this fucking instant that matters. It's your time to sink or swim.
Damn, dude.
It's so freaking cool, man. That fires me up when I hear that. That's Hourglass, Ashes in the Wake, Lamb of God. I hear that, I just go batshit, man.
That's like a paragraph from a book. It's not even like, doesn't even read like lyrics.
Right. Well, he's not singing them like lyrics. It's right in the middle of the song. It slows down. There's a little bit of instrumental, and the instruments kind of fade out, and he's just talking this. And he slowly escalates with his verbiage, slowly, until he's screaming at the end. But it's so freaking true. I love that. For me, I would say that I would always quote these lines because to me, it's the epitome of what metal motivation is, because I would consider this band to be, and the singer to be, the original metal motivator. They understood the concept that metal was to be motivating. And I would open my live events with this song. And the lyric goes, if you think I'll sit around as the world goes by, you're thinking like a fool. It's a case of do or die. Out there is a fortune waiting to be had. You think I'd let it go, you're mad. You got another thing coming. So to me, that's the metal attitude. Yep. Perfect. Right? And that was my second choice. And he even says, oh, really? Okay. Yeah. So he even says later, there's no room for second best. Right. I mean, that's to me, that's the epitome of what metal motivation is. Yep. You got another thing coming by Judas Priest. Let's see. CJ, I wonder if you do any kind of online sermons, if there are any available. Love the podcast. You and Mac, a great dynamic. See, man, I tell you, dude, people write that stuff. Cool. It's a great dynamic, but we're not do dynamic duo because that means somebody has to be Robin. That's right. I ain't being Robin. I would just go to metalmotivation.com. I don't have any sermons per se, but I got tons and tons of videos. Number 44, my job is killing my soul and I can't afford to quit. What tips do you have to get out of this job and create a career with fulfillment and financial gain? Kind of answered this earlier, but. Right. Yeah. Right now you got to embrace the suck and make the best out of a bad situation. Right. And sometimes bad times are worth it in the long run. Right. Right. Yeah. I think the most important thing is that what do you have? Because as he says, he acknowledges, I can't afford to quit. Exactly. Your vocation needs to pay for your calling. So you can't quit until whatever else you want to do is able to, where you feel more confident to take that step. Therefore, the question is exclusively, what do you want to do and what are you doing with the free time that you have? Because that's going to determine
how quick you get out of this. So if you can, back in our day, remember, dude, we called it night school.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So there's so many things you can obviously do online to learn other skills that can get you out of where you are. So it sounds to me like education precedes creation in this point. So you need to educate yourself, equip yourself for whatever that new season, whatever that new position, whatever that new job might be. But you can't just jump from one to the other. It sounds like you're going to need some transitioning. I know that's not a word, but I've never met a noun I couldn't verb. Transitioning. And that's what I would do.
Good.
How do you gentlemen deal with conflict between type A's? What, like right here?
Yeah.
Both in personal and work situations. You acquiesce to the capital A and the little A's got
Right. Well, that's kind of, I said be a quieter type A, and then I was chatting with Rebecca about this last night. How would I answer this? This is one of them that she helped me with, but that was the first thing that I wrote down is be a quieter type A. That'll lead you to introspection and it will enable calculated thought.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is kind of one of the questions that I asked you.
I got along great with other type A's, but the thing is, there's a time to to check yourself and be a quieter type A. And
right. Yeah. Well, I asked you about this a long time ago when it comes to elite military units, when obviously you're filling the ranks with type A personalities. And so how do you get a group of type A, the guys could all be leaders all by themselves, to work together to be a cohesive unit? You have to have in that sort of relationship a purpose greater than the relationship itself.
Right.
Otherwise, it doesn't work. If it's just mano-y-mano and everybody's got bravado and macho stuff that they're trying to prove their point, well, then it's not going to work because you're all soulish. You're fleshly. Mm-hmm. You're not spirit, man. But,
right.
But when you get to the elite units, it's spirit driven. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I've met several of your, former teammates, right?
Yep.
And they're all the same. Extremely polite, humble, gracious. Now, of course, you get them out on a field of play, and it's a whole different ball game. But when it comes to discourse, these are not guys that you would think are, commandos, because they have that balance, because they've always been submitted to a higher purpose.
Yep.
Everything that they did, all their badassness in type A was put to serve a greater purpose, protecting the country, that type of thing, and then protecting their brothers when they got into these elite units. So, yeah, you got to have something. Just to me, it's the same conflict resolution in terms of a relationship. If you don't have a higher purpose governing your relationship, then what are you going to sacrifice towards? It's going to be in and out of love.
Yep. Okay.
With the 15th anniversary, with the tragic death of Dimebag, what are you guys' favorite Dime riffs and or tributes to Dime? Dude,
it's hard to answer. I wrote down a bunch of stuff. One of them that I wrote down was the sleep that.
Yeah.
That, because I was thinking solos, but then he went, riffs.
Right.
So, man, almost every tune opened with a great freaking riff, like Cemetery Gates, 5 Minutes Alone.
Yeah.
Becoming, Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
Mouth for War.
Yeah.
They were all cool.
Oh, I mean,
there was too many.
Just every riff off of Reinventing the Steel.
Oh, right on. Forget about it.
Here's what I will say about this, because I noted it yesterday because I posted about it. And this one means a lot to me because the first time I heard the riff, Dime played it for me in his car.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to source, right? And this was probably 1985, and we were at a bar called Matley's off of Northwest Highway and in Dallas. And Pantera had played that night. And so Dime stuck around. And so we were hanging out, we were talking, and they were recording their album, I Am the Night, at the time. Yep. And so they were in studio. They were just playing the bar that night. So we're talking, and I said, hey, how's it going and whatever. And he said, dude, I got to show you something. So we went out to his car, to Dime's car, and he put in a cassette from the Dailies recording that they did, and it was the intro to the song Forever Tonight off the I Am the Night album. And he was so proud of the tremolo work on it. It's just got this real trippy little tremolo. We can play it afterwards, but this real trippy tremolo thing in the beginning. And that's back during his pure Van Halen-esque days. You know what I mean? He was just so creative, even at that age. So I would say that one's a favorite, even though it's not a super heavy song, because it wasn't even on vinyl yet. And he played it for me in his car. What am I supposed to say to that? You know,
you have an emotional attachment.
Yeah, there's an emotional attachment to it. 49. We've talked about this, but it's probably good to go over. How do you rest, or is it grinding all day, every day?
See what I wrote down, bro. Have you ever listened to me before? So I mean, I have a saying: every night is Saturday night, every morning is Monday morning. I like to unwind every night. I shut down at like 6-ish, thereabouts, every night. But yeah, it's moving and grinding every day. Yeah, 7 days a week. There's times where I will find a couple hours here and there,
right?
And I'm not just gonna plop down in 2 PM and watch TV. Right. That's for the night.
Right. Yeah.
So man, if I could escape and play 9 holes of golf or go fishing or plug in the guitar or jam on the drums, I'm going to do that stuff because that's good quality unwind. Or take the car for a drive, my muscle car for a drive. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I want to take advantage of this as an opportunity, Mac, because of the Badassery Instagram page, I see all the comments and DMs and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I see what I feel like is a distorted view of Mac. They think that they're trying to mimic something, thinking that one of your little video clips at Spartech is 24/7.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's 30 minutes a day.
Yeah. So because I remember one guy who's trying to sound all poetic. He went off on another commenter saying, "Hey, while you're doing this guy's training, and while you're doing this, this guy's doing this."
Right.
And I'm like, no, he isn't. Right. He's drinking and he's eating and he's writing,
making an apple pie,
making an apple pie,
working in my garden.
You know what I mean? And here's the thing about it, dude. People often ask me, they'll say, CJ, how come don't have millions of followers? And I said, because I'm selling responsibility, and there's not many takers. Right. And the other thing is that even though I put myself out there as a motivational speaker, I don't see myself that way, because motivational speaking is about individualism, and my philosophy of life is attached to a social theory.
Yeah,
right. So, and because of that, then we want more colorful, 3-dimensional, comprehensive kind of living. Because Mac and I could sit here and talk probably more passionately about our kids and things we've done with our kids than we could about badassery.
Right.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So I just want everybody to just try to keep that in mind. If you were to hang around Mac, he would put no expectations on you. I never got expectations from him. He never says, "Hey, bro, tell me what you're doing about you." Never.
Right.
We hang out, we drink just like you do with your friends.
Yep.
He says he's just a dude. As he says,
I'm just a dude, bro.
You say, I'm my kid's dad.
I'm my kid's dad.
He's a great drinking buddy. Okay. Did you do any competition shooting?
Yep. So it says, what type of competition shooting did you do besides marksmanship training in the unit? I started competing in IPSC in the early 90s. I did well at that. So got a A class and was competing in limited 10 and production. And then I started national match competition, which is bullseye shooting. It's so freaking, it's so old man, bullseye shooting at distance. But dude, once again, coming off that plateau, it really opened my eyes and made me a better IPSC shooter. Doing bullseye shooting, strong hand, 50 yards. I also took first place in the All Army Small Arms competition in 2004. And that's a combination rifle pistol. That was but yeah, I've done a bunch of different competitions. IDPA, CMP. I'm a distinguished pistol shooter. So I made my distinguished through the civilian marksmanship program, the EIC program, Excellence in Competition. So yeah, I've done a bunch of it.
Nice. Now IPSC stands for what?
It's practical shooting competition.
Okay.
International practical shooting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, now I'm appreciating everybody asking these questions about me.
Yeah, good.
You know why? Because my ego really needed that right now. I'm kind of hurt. I'm kind of depressed, Mac. Okay, CJ, when did you decide to start motivational speaking? I love listening to you speak, brother. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. When did I start? Well, it was really more because of the church environments that I kind of came up in. I was around in your more charismatic, Pentecostal, large churches. There's two things you'll get from these kind of churches. You'll get the best musicians and singers. So everybody who cleans up on the voice competitions, they've always grown up in church.
Right.
Right. Because you're singing constantly. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then also the very best speakers in the world are preachers.
Right.
Because you do that all the time. And I sat under some guys who, I'm not talking about just some blowhards. I'm talking about guys where you would be like, that dude needs to be president. Like my pastor, Mike Hayes, that guy was a man's man. Mm-hmm. And he spoke with authority, very articulate, very well read. And so I look at those guys, I'm the way I am because of guys like that. But in those type of churches, it's not dead. You know what I mean? So the content is always very inspirational. So for me, it started back in 1987 is when I started. So
right now,
do the math. But then once it was in 2007 or 8 that it became just strictly motivational and no religious content.
Right.
Explicitly religious content. So, okay. What's the absolute, you want to do this one?
Yeah, I wrote down an answer.
Okay. What's the absolute worst training evolution, Mac, you've ever been on in your life, including during or after military in regards to physical pain and mental anguish, and also the best training evolution in regards to sheer emotional joy? So
this one here too, I was having a pint with Rebecca last night and I wrote down one thing and she goes, no, that's not it. And I go, what is? And so and I went, oh, you're right. So she helped me with my second answer. But the anguish or physical pain, that's preparation. It's called pre-scuba preparation for combat dive school. Shit's brutal, bro. It's brutal. Damn, man. And guys out there who have been to pre-scuba they're nodding yes right now. They're going,
now, did you have a propensity for, I know some people, they freak out when it gets to the water stuff.
Oh, yeah, man. Water is the ultimate equalizer, bro.
Really?
I don't care how tough you are, man, that water will shut you down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. The guys can do all kinds of things on land. They get them in water and they freak out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then the best training evolution in regards to sheer emotional joy, this is one that Rebecca helped me with, is prepping for my brother's return from prison. Yep. So between the ages of 15 and 16 and a half, I went through a metamorphosis and I trained my ass off. And I almost looked forward to his return. The day he came back, he started shit with me, and I freaking jacked him up.
Payback is a mother.
Yeah, I mean he brutalized me for a long, long time. Yep. He literally tortured me. You
know? Were your parents aware that was
going
on?
Matter of fact, when I kicked his ass, it was right in front of my parents. They just crossed their arms.
Really?
They just watched it happen.
He thought probably he was a badass coming back from prison and everything, right?
Yep. Had all his new jailhouse tats on him and everything. Yep.
How did you take him down?
I was on the shitter.
Well, you were good.
And he kicked the door open.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he kicked the door open while I was pooping. And I told him, hey, you got to get out. This is his hello to me, you know. I just saw him. He's been away for a year and a half. And fist in my face. And he's just saying, say I won't. I will jack you up. So I stood up, just pulled my pants up, and I said, you won't. And I just just a 1 and a 2, boom, boom.
So in the bathroom.
Yep. And when I hit him with the 2, he went backwards and went down the stairs. I chased him down the stairs, drug him into the kitchen where my parents were sitting, put him in a headlock, and just went to town, just throwing freaking hooks into his face. Yeah. Because I was wrestling at the time.
Right.
I was wrestling, taking taekwondo and stuff like so.
Okay, now what was your brother's problem?
Just a douchebag, just a dickhead.
He was, and he'd always been that way?
Yeah.
Since little.
No, I mean, most people when they knew him when he was little, he was a good kid, but got in with the wrong crowd. Early teens, started taking drugs and stuff like that. It was real easy to do it in my neighborhood. Right. It was easy to fall off the tracks.
Right.
Very easy. It was very tempting, and sink or swim. Most of the people that I knew in my neighborhood fell off the wrong side of the tracks.
So why did he pick on you though?
He was a predator. I was easy prey.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right there. I was in his proximity. I was easy prey because I was a big sissy.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So could you then credit him in some way?
Yeah. Absolutely. To who I am today, no doubt. No doubt.
I mean, what makes a great guy movie? Several things, but you've got to also have a clear distinction between good and evil. There's got to be a nemesis, right? There's got to be a bad guy.
Yep.
And the hero, dude, you're just a little mini hero's journey.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But of course, someone's going to ask this question again, so you have to say it again.
Right.
Okay. Hello, gentlemen. You'll get very far with that. As a former soldier, now psychotherapist, well, that's interesting. I find humor hugely important. Gets expressed. People show their characters in nothing more clearly than in what they think laughable. What makes you laugh?
That's Goethe. Sorry.
Johann.
Yep. Well, this was a hard one to answer because a lot of stuff makes me laugh. I like silliness. I like, what I like more than anything, and you have this. I love when people have wit. I say it all the time. And Rebecca goes, "No, you have wit." I said, "No, that guy right there, he's got wit."
Well, you do in the sense that you're not being intentionally funny, but you're funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean people who who are punny.
Right.
Who could throw out puns just left and right, and they're just on it without in a nanosecond.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. My dad's like that.
Yeah.
He's the most ridiculous, punny, witty guy. His humor is ridiculous too. It's super, super dry and stale. But I love that. I love that kind of. I love that. Where somebody could. The other thing I really like is somebody could tell an anecdote about a horrible story.
Right.
Like they got hurt or whatever, and they make it seem not horrible.
Right.
What I don't like, this one gets my grade a little bit, is people go on and on about a story about somebody that they heard about that they don't know. And, well, we don't know them either.
Right.
And they go on and on about it. It's like, oh, my God, that's the antithesis. That's, it's the complete opposite of good anecdote.
Here's what I would say is that I enjoy a comedian or a funny show, but that's not where my best laughs are.
Right.
My best laughs are with people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's, yeah.
And so one thing that we'll talk about my lady, it's one thing I will say about her. It's one of the most attractive things about her is that she is the only woman who can make me laugh as much as any guy can.
Right on. Yeah, good.
She's quick. She's really, really quick, and she's filled with innuendos and references, cultural references, and she's very animated. And she's from Rhode Island, so she sounds like the nanny.
Oh yeah, great. Oh man, cool.
And so that adds, to the thing. Funniest person I've ever met in my life is my older brother, Steve Ortiz. He is the funniest person I've ever met in my life. And even when he does pranks and stuff, I mean, the most elaborate pranks he will do to people. Like he did one where a friend of his was working for the state of Austin, one of their, bureaucracy buildings. And he's in another company somewhere. And so because he used to work with that company with that guy.
Yep.
So he starts jacking with him through the mail and phone calls.
Perfect.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like he would have, he'd like send him pieces of mail where it was addressed from Jack M. Hard.
Yeah, right.
And the guy he keeps sending a package, and the guy's just like, who is this? Who keeps sending me these packages? Who is this Jack M. Hard? Jack M. Hard. Jack M. Ortiz. Took him like months to figure it out and finally called him.
Perfect. I love that. That stuff is so good. But once again, that's my dad too.
Yeah.
Like my dad come down here from Connecticut one year and collected a bunch, we got these longleaf pine trees. And the pine cones are gigantic. They're the size of a pineapple. For people who don't know that. They're like this. They are the size of a pineapple. Mm-hmm. He brought a bag of them back up to Connecticut where the pine cones are the size of an acorn. Right? And he would plant one or two under these trees in this park where old people walked and sit on the park bench just so he could see their expression as they walked by, and they would grab it and go, "Oh my God," and look up into the tree, and go, "Look at this, Margaret. What is it, Albert? Look at this pine cone. This is amazing." So I love ridiculous stuff.
Oh
like
my
that.
God. Yeah. One time my brother, he was working for this office, and he had a boss that he harassed all the time. I don't know how my brother never got fired, but his boss, he harassed all the time. And so, because his boss took himself too seriously, so he had pictures of himself all in his office. So my brother went in, stole one of his pictures one time, and blew it up on the copy machine. And they had a clock in the office because of really high vaulted ceiling. So there was a clock that was like way up there that if it went out, you had to get a special ladder in there to do that. So he blew up this picture of his boss, and nobody would pay attention to sort of that clock.
Right.
So he goes in late at night, gets that ladder, and goes up there, takes the clock apart. It's a face clock, and he puts his face over the clock, and then puts the clock back together. So it's his face like way the hell up there. He just let it ride.
Right.
And it took like weeks before people finally looked up there and noticed. Holy shit!
What time is it?
There's John's
It's half past John's nose, man.
Ortiz. Crap like that. And then for after a while there, he got on this kick about clowns. He just called everybody a clown. And so now when everybody started to do stupid stuff, they'd say something dumb in the meeting. He'd just go, you crap like that. But anyway, so yeah, we love laughter, but I prefer it to be not scripted. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just laugh and having fun with people. Here we go, books again, dude. What are 3 books that have influenced your life in terms of leadership? Although I was in the Navy, David Hackworth's Steal My Soldier's Heart has influenced my life in terms of leadership the most.
I wrote down 2 books.
Okay.
Undaunted Courage, Lewis and Clark Expedition. It's one of the best books on leadership out there. Another one of the best. And if you haven't read this, oh my God. Endurance. It's the Shackleton expedition to South Pole.
Right.
Dude, man, the hard calls that guy had to make and how he was able to bolster the morale of his guys in the most absolute horrible conditions. Ridiculous. Fast read too. And just for shits and grins, get on the interweb and look up Shackleton's ad, the ad that he put in the paper. Yeah, it's
really
cool. Yeah, it's cool as hell, man. Somebody will look it up right now and they'll crack up. It's like men wanted, long hours, bitter cold, chance of death likely, all this stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would also go to the ancient stuff. The biography of Stonewall Jackson is really good. And just, you want to see a demonstration of leadership on every level, it take you a while, but read Shelby Foote's 3-volume narrative of the Civil War. And because it's, I can't necessarily recommend, contemporary leadership because it's just, I don't know, sounds too corporate. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I mean, there's leaders I admire, but in terms of, leadership, like you said, who had to make serious decisions that shaped history, you got to go back to older sources. So,
right.
This is a bonus question, I guess, from, well, no.
I went and skipped a couple of these.
Okay, so.
I went right to 58.
So you skipped the beer one.
Was it a beer one?
Well, yeah. You ever go to Seattle?
Right.
No.
Yeah, not recently.
Okay, so question 58. Question for the podcast, both Pat and CJ. During my workouts, I do a lot of resistance band work, but I also like to do the 3 major barbell lifts as well regularly. Bench, reads, and squats along with cardio. Do you find those 3 lifts pointless or do they have merit?
Hell yeah, they have merit. And all the big traditional lifts, deadlift, squat, they're necessary.
Right.
Yeah, deadlifts and squats are necessary, 100%. Yeah, but you got to make sure you're doing them right. You got to get coaching because you could get jacked up doing those too.
Right.
You could do them the wrong way if you don't have neutral spine and stuff like that, or if you do too much, you could, and you're older, you could run into muscular imbalances.
Right.
So,
Yeah, dude, there's still this dynamic, and this has nothing to do with this gentleman's question, but there's still that dynamic of contemporary training being too influenced by bodybuilding.
Right. Oh, yeah. And that's just, people don't know what they don't know.
Like you said, because it could be things like lifting too much or what have you. Good to test your strength, I'm sure, but even then, only because you know what you're doing. And you can say, well, last year I was deadlifting this, and this year I'm deadlifting this. Well, if there's something that you know how to do and follow, yeah. But if he's doing a lot of resistance band work, then I assume by resistance band, it's not just, you're just doing still the same isolated weight movements,
right, yeah.
or is this transverse stuff? Because that's a big difference.
Yep. Massive. How about 60?
Most memorable Christmas moment.
It was living vicariously through my kids when they were old enough to know, you know, kind of what Christmas was.
Yeah.
Seeing those little nuggets like 5 and 7, that kind of age.
Right.
Seeing those little nuggets in their PJs, you know.
Yeah.
Just, they're up before you are and they're sitting patiently by the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Just looking at all the stuff, maybe touching it a little bit.
It is.
So freaking cool. Those are my best Christmas moments.
Yeah.
It wasn't,
Yeah. To me, that would be the same thing. I like to surprise my kids. So, for example, what I used to do, I knew there was big blockbuster movies they wanted to see. Whenever that would happen, I knew it was coming out. And again, they were younger, so they were relying upon you to take them. I would say, all right, guys, listen, I got to go to the computer store, CompUSA. So you're going with me.
Right.
I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I don't go anywhere near CompUSA. I took them to the movie. So I would get them every single time. I had to get real creative, but I threw them off the trail every single time. And it's one of their fondest memories. The second fondest memory they have is Christmases, because I would always get something really, really big that nobody asked for, but that would be for all of them. Like,
right on.
You know what I mean? Just really expensive stuff. And so they'd get the usual lot and it was all good. They weren't expecting anything else. It wasn't like the one thing they wanted, but they didn't get it. And then you bring it out. No, this is something they weren't expecting. I did this to them year after year. And so they open all their stuff and they're having fun and they're ready to tear up to the rooms. And I'd be like, 1 second.
One more.
All right, Aaron, why don't you take your brother and sister and why don't you go into the garage? It would be something just off the chains and it would just blow their minds.
Nice.
I always love surprising my kids.
Hold on.
But as a kid myself, the first memorable white Christmas.
Oh, right on.
That
cool.
You know what I mean? I remember when it was, dude, you're lucky if you wake up and it's snowing on Christmas morning. You're so damn lucky. All right. First of all, thanks to both of you for providing free and useful content, which we enjoy. You're welcome. That's a good way to start a conversation right there. Since all things manly are manly, how about we get some info, advice, opinions on vasectomies? I had it done a few years back. I recently tried convincing both of my brothers-in-law to get snipped, and they're both afraid they'll be sissies afterwards. I don't know what
I ain't no sissy.
So
they're not afraid of being sissies afterwards. They're afraid of getting snipped. They're afraid of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what? They're sissies right now.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I don't. Outside of religious reasons, I don't know that there's any detriment or danger to getting that done.
Nope.
I don't. For me, it would be okay. Is stuff going to still come out?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it going to be like water or something like that? Is it not going to be like that color anymore? That'd be the stuff I'd trip about.
I like 62. I got a few answers for that.
Okay. What is one of the most rewarding experiences in your personal development where you have helped someone or maybe even saved someone's life?
It's daily, right?
Yeah.
It's daily. Daily.
That's me.
Yeah, it's daily. And I appreciate when people write me and say, hey, right before I was about to put a gun in my mouth, I listened to this podcast or read this article that you wrote.
Right.
So it all the time it happens. But on the active side, it's rewarding to be human, just to be human. There's stuff I do every day or every week. For instance, I have a guy in town. We got some homeless people in town that walk around, but I have a guy.
Right.
I
think you mentioned him before.
Yeah, and I'll see him in a parking lot, and he's a tortured soul. He screams at the sky.
Yeah.
And
literally.
Yep. He literally screams at the sky. And I know him by name, and I'll pull up and not, in a discreet spot.
Right.
So I'm not flaunting.
Right.
That I'm helping this guy out. And I give him $10 here, $20 here. are there, and I have to remind him because I'll hold it with 2 fingers. And I'll say, Darius, put it in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in your pocket. Save it for later. But I just had a guy up. I worked out with him for a week. He had a bunch of issues, and it was life-changing for him. You know, and it didn't require that much work for me. Just resonating a positive attitude and just being human to him, coaching him along the way. It was nothing. It took no effort, but it was life-changing for him. Right. It was life-changing. All he needed was a couple good days. That was it. Right. Just a couple good days. And I helped him have a couple good days. Another one is I take guys, you know, on the Montana trips with me. Yeah. One of them I took was Rebecca's brother-in-law, and he was recovering drug addict. And being able to live vicariously through him during his recovery process was extremely fulfilling. You know, I had the best trip, and I didn't see it through my eyes. I saw it through his. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple examples.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I would agree with Mac because this is what you do every day. And, you know, I have people that have been following me since the beginning, you know, 10 years ago. And it's great to see them still. Some of them have been even 5 years in my online coaching group. And it's great to see the progress that they've made and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Nothing for me is as gratifying as seeing my life philosophy lived out in my kids. That's probably the biggest one because they see you up close, you know. And if I could show you the texts that my kids send me, even within the last 30 days, it would bless you, man, because they have a tremendous amount of love and they have a tremendous amount of respect, and they'll repeat my things back to me. It's like a band hearing the crowd sing their song back to them for the first time. You know, it's got to be a pretty awesome, you know, experience. And my kids say metal up and don't suck. So
right on.
So oozing confidence has to be exhausting. Any words of wisdom from the dean of destroying douchebaggery on meddling up on those days you just feel like shit? Thanks again for every awesome thing y'all do.
Well, first off, it's not confidence, it's attitude. You know, we talked about that.
Yeah, right.
And then it has to be exhausting. It costs me nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. A person will literally boil to death in a bathtub that is gradually heated if you are not aware of the heat. I love that. It's great. Yeah. Yep. But I'm aware of the heat.
Right.
You know, I'm aware of that. And I'm able to you know, stay grounded and stay fixed on my position because of that.
Yeah, he made a comment here. He said, which I didn't read, but he said, neither of you look like you have a bad day. Oozing confidence has to be exhausting. Yeah, like I said, it is attitude. I don't consciously see anything as an issue of, I mean, we are confident, but we don't think about it that way. It's just, okay, yeah, well, that's, you're sure that you have the ability to solve problems. You're sure you have the ability to do whatever. But I think more than anything, also, it's perspective, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? And gratitude. And we know that we don't have a reason to be, you know, anything else. Do we have bad days? Who doesn't have bad days? Anybody tells you otherwise is full.
Bro, I am really good at making lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've got a great support mechanism with Rebecca that helps me do that.
And 2 dogs.
Yeah, right. 2
sure,
dogs. Because they never have a bad day, man.
Well, there you go.
Ever.
Dogs don't have bad days. And so lastly here, I'd love to hear your advice from both of you on getting and staying motivated and healthy when you're no longer that younger man, but the older man with the worn out knees, joints, and back. It's a struggle. We've kind of basically answered this throughout the entire podcast, but I guess we just say kind of summarize things here. Motivation, the root is motive. So you got to have a reason, man. You know, you got to know your why.
Yeah. How old would you be if you didn't know when you were born?
Exactly.
Clint Eastwood quote is, "Don't let the old man in."
Yeah.
I love that one.
One of my quotes is, what I've lived, experienced, and loved is how old I am.
Right on. Yeah,
so,
good.
You know, the numbers don't mean anything because we don't look our age.
Right. Well, like when he's saying worn out knees, joints, back, you know, it's a struggle. I get that struggle. There's days when I'm on, there's days when I'm off.
Right.
There's days when I know, do I want to go to the gym? Nope.
Right.
But I got 5 people waiting for me to train them. I'm going to get there an hour early because that's how long it's going to take me to warm up.
Right.
About an hour.
Right.
You know, and man, but after that hour, I'm feeling good.
Right.
everything's warmed up, and it's slow. It's a very slow and meticulous process, but I do it.
Yeah, and regret is a sucky thing to live with, far worse than joint pain.
Yep.
So move those joints,
right?
Move those joints, because at least you're gonna be able to sleep peacefully, because you're just gonna be like, man, I did what I needed to do and fulfilled my purpose in life. Well, there were more questions. We couldn't get to all of them, so we'll do this.
We should do this again.
Yeah, we will do this again for sure.
I enjoyed it.
That was fun.
Yep.
Man. Yeah, I think this is a better format.
And plus, it was fulfilling for me. Help exercise. But so I appreciate all the questions, because I didn't have a lot of time to go over them.
Right.
I went over them last night with a couple pints.
Right.
But yeah, these were good.
Awesome. Okay, so again, guys, good things coming. By the time this podcast comes out, it's early December, so you may not hear this till whenever. But we want everybody to have a super fantastic Christmas. And be excellent to each other. If you'd like to keep up with Mac, they can reach you
at tmaxinc.com. IG, it's at tmaxinc. Check out my YouTube channel too, Pat space Mac YouTube channel.
Yes, I got University of Badassery, at University of Badassery on Instagram. The universityofbadassery.com is the website and store. We now have a YouTube channel. I haven't changed the URL yet, so you can get to it from our Instagram profile. You can reach me, metalmotivation.com, and then at metalmotivation for Instagram, and facebook.com/Instagram. Don't forget our show sponsors, Taconic Distillery and Invader Coffee, taconicdistillery.com, invadercoffee.com. And in remembering, whatever you do,
don't suck.
Metal up.